Divine Comprehension, a dimensional journey begins in Douluo. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 501 Gabriel with a strong background. Cute King, Ed 1. Huashan Gentleman Sword, Ed 1. Passerby, Ed 1. With his eyes complaint, everyone thought of the time when they had gone through so much trouble and spent a lot of points to exchange for Shinto skills. The pain of not even being able to understand the skills they exchanged for, followed his eye and expressed their dissatisfaction. And the others who did not exchange, after seeing this series of +1, also extinguished the impulse in their hearts to exchange for the ancient gods and the way of the gods. Others, thank you brothers for helping me step on the thunder, great kindness, I can't repay you. If you need anything in the future, just tell me. Seeker, up, the ancient gods and the way of the gods do have higher requirements for talent. Seeker, but after all, it is a road to heaven, it is normal to have higher requirements. Wu Tong looked at the slightly unhappy remarks of the crowd and couldn't help but feel a little helpless. Speaking of which, these guys don't really think that the Shinto practice system is so easy to follow? You know, that can directly reach the 11th level, and even have the ability to reach the 12th level. It is a real way to heaven. How could it be so simple? Dragon King sprayed water, a little higher? That's more than a little. Dragon King sprayed water, if the difficulty of practicing other systems is 1, then the difficulty of practicing the ancient gods and the way of the gods must be at least 100, right? Dragon King sprayed water, and this is just the entry-level difficulty of Shinto practice. Subsequent Shinto practice is much more difficult than the entry level. Seeing Wu Tong's news, Guruli couldn't help but complain. A little higher? It's really a niche word. I spent millions of points and exchanged for a Shinto practice method, but I can't use it. What's the matter? Of course, this is not the most annoying thing. The most annoying thing is that it doesn't matter if I can't use it myself, but why can Baishuran use it? And he got started directly? He always looks stupid like this. As mentioned in the previous article, Baishuran is the son of Calamity in the world of spiritual energy revival. In terms of talent, Baishuran can be said to have the strongest talent in the world of spiritual energy revival. Moreover, I worked so hard, but in the end, my enemy took the advantage of me. How could I tolerate this? If Wu Tong heard Guruli's thoughts, he would definitely feel speechless. What makes you feel uncomfortable is not the difficulty of practicing Shinto, but the fact that you gave the skills you exchanged with a great effort to Baishuran? Unfortunately, Wu Tong did not know what Guruli was thinking. He looked at Guruli's complaints and explained helplessly. Seeker, there's nothing we can do about this. Don't you see what kind of big guys are those great gods at the top of the ancient god Shinto? Seeker, which of the great gods, such as Wahurong, Zihurong, Tei, Haoshan, and Sanking Shianzan, is not a congenital sacred? Seeker, in this endless void, there are as many Shinto practitioners as the stars in the sky and the dust in the desert. Seeker, but in the end, only a few congenital sacred ones can stand at the top. Seeker, doesn't this alone prove the importance of talent in Shinto practice? Seeker, it's only because I have the cheat that I dare to try the ancient god's way. If I were just an ordinary person, I would have thrown the ancient god's way aside without even a glance. Seeker, so, everyone should be more pragmatic. Isn't it better to practice the Divine Ringmaster system honestly? Seeker, I have already paved the way for you, just walk well. Huashan Gentleman Sword, Huashan Gentleman Sword, I didn't expect that Shinto practice would be so difficult. Fortunately, I haven't exchanged the Shinto system's skills yet. Huashan Gentleman Sword, otherwise, millions of points would be wasted. Huashan Gentleman Sword, now it seems that I should practice the Divine Ringmaster system slowly. Passerby, yes, Wu Tong is right. The ancient god's way requires too much talent from the practitioner. It seems that the Shinto system has nothing to do with us after all. Angel of Laziness, up, is it necessary for you to be so disappointed? Angel of Laziness, the old man in our world follows the ancient god Shinto system. Angel of Laziness, with the talent of that old man, the god of Gabriel's world, he is now stuck at the peak of the 9th level and cannot make any progress. Do you think your talent is better than that of the old man? Old man? Seeing the news about Gabriel, Guruli blinked. Are there still old men in the heaven where Gabriel is? Are there still old men among angels? Wait, aren't they discussing Shinto practice now? If I remember correctly, in the heaven, except for God, other angels seem to practice the holy light system, right? Could it be that this old man is? Realizing a possibility, Guruli shuddered and asked quickly. Dragon King spraying water, Zaya Ojia, this old man you are talking about, could it be God himself? Angel of laziness, what else? Who else could it be besides him? Seeing Guruli's shocked expression, Gabriel was somewhat surprised. Why is the group leader so shocked? Did I say something wrong? What happened to that old man? As for why Gabriel dared to call God a dead old man? That was naturally because Gabriel was not simple. Let's talk about a background first, sister. God's right-hand man, God's right, one of the strongest in the heavens, a real person in charge of the heavens, and has the ability to easily slay dragons. Then let's talk about Gabriel's strength. At a young age, she already has the strength of the 5th level advanced level. In addition, she also has the artifact, the horn that announces the end of the world. Her strength should never be underestimated. Finally, let's talk about her personality. Don't think that she has always been like this just because she looks so sloppy and swears now. You know, when she was in the God realm, Gabriel was still a well-behaved, cute, kind and gentle chief graduate of the heavenly realm. So the powerful power, background and gentle and kind personality led to Gabriel being absolutely loved by everyone in the heavenly realm. So, is there any problem with being favored by God a few times, meeting God a little, and being favored by God? No problem. But Gabriel, although she was not afraid of God, still used honorifics to address God. So why did Gabriel suddenly call God a dead old man now? Chapter 502 Gabriel, I'm tired of God? He's just a dead old man, I said. That's because one day. Gabriel, damn old man, you actually deducted my living expenses again. Looking at the meager living expenses that she had just received, Gabriel was so angry that she couldn't control her emotions. She showed the angel halo on her head, which had turned dark. Since that day, Gabriel has been calling it that. Gabriel, I am lazy. What God? Just an old man, cute king, hiss Huishan gentleman sword, hiss passerby, hiss dragon king spraying water, hiss. Hearing Gabriel's words, everyone took a breath of cold air. Little Gia, is she so brave? You know, that's God. Even if the God of Gabriel's world is just the incarnation of the real God in that world, or a self of the gods. But even so, it is not a powerful existence that they can touch. But now, everyone heard her nickname for God from Gabriel's mouth. How can this not make everyone surprised by Gabriel's bravery? Angel of laziness, is it that serious? He can't hear you talking in the chat group. Angel of laziness, besides, he's just an old man. Do you need to be so surprised? Gabriel, who was playing games, rolled his eyes at the look on everyone's faces. You're just being so hypocritical, right? It's not like I don't watch you guys chatting. You guys often scold people you can't afford to offend in the group. Why are you pretending to be so hypocritical with me now? Then, Gabriel saw that the game character in the computer was about to die because of distraction. Lao you, don't die. Seeing this, Gabriel didn't care to think about anything else. He quickly opened the game backpack and started to restore the character's health. Seeing the character's health increasing little by little, Gabriel breathed a sigh of relief, and then spoke in the group. Angel of laziness, okay, my sister is not here today. I finally have some time to play. I don't want to waste all my time chatting with you. I'm going offline. Angel of laziness, by the way, I have a piece of advice for you. The talent required by the Shinto system is too terrifying. If you don't have enough talent, you may stop at the limit of what you can achieve and make no progress. Angel of laziness, that old man is like that. Angel of laziness, therefore, compared to the Shinto system with many restrictions, I still recommend you to practice the Divine Ring Master, which only needs to condense the Divine Ring and then rely on eating to become a 9th level strongman without any obstacles. Angel of laziness, that's all I have to say. Anyway, what to choose is ultimately up to you to decide, so you can do it yourself. After saying that, Gabriel directly exited the chat group and went offline to play games. After hearing Gabriel's advice, everyone in the group also began to think about it. For a moment, the originally lively atmosphere of the chat group suddenly became silent and fell into silence. Wu Tong looked at the quiet chat group and chuckled, and didn't plan to continue chatting in the group. Although Gabriel's words were a bit blunt, they were true. As for his future choices, the group members still needed to decide for themselves, so he would not interfere. Thinking of this, Wu Tong opened a private chat with San-Yuki and told her about Mei and Wei Weiwei. Then he stuffed the storage space containing the two doctors into the red envelope and sent it to San-Yuki. Wu Tong went offline directly and did not care about what happened next in the chat group. Douluo realm. Taking a step forward, Wu Tong's figure suddenly appeared in the starry sky outside the world. Wu Tong, who was covered in starlight and stood upright above the starry sky, stood in the vacuum not far from Douluo realm. He looked at the planet in front of him that completely belonged to him, and sighed in his heart. Who would have thought that in just a few years, he would go from a powerless little man to the absolute ruler of Douluo realm? The old saying the world is like chess, and the universe is unpredictable is really true. How, when did I become so sentimental? After coming to his senses, Wu Tong thought of the inexplicable emotion that had just arisen in his mind, and couldn't help but chuckle. Okay, let's stop with the meaningless behavior. It's time to work. Then, Wu Tong shook his head and stopped wasting time. He started to act according to his plan. Wu Tong first waved his hand to take out the small divine world that he had just refined not long ago. With a flash of light, a transparent ball of light that seemed like a dream, like reality, and existed, but seemed to be just a piece of nothingness, appeared in front of Wu Tong. After seeing this ball of light, Wu Tong took it in his hand without hesitation. Then, Wu Tong waved his hand again, and summoned the world model in his body that only the master of the Douluo realm could summon. And with Wu Tong's action, a Douluo realm model that was exactly the same as the Douluo realm, but was shrunk countless times and only the size of a wash basin, appeared in front of Wu Tong. Looking at the world model that appeared in his hand, Wu Tong did not hesitate too much, and directly controlled the small divine world to move towards the Douluo realm. As the small divine world gradually approached the Douluo realm, the dreamlike small divine world also gradually began to change in form, thinning, unfolding, stretching, and extending. Finally, it turned into a transparent film that ordinary people felt dizzy and uncomfortable at a glance, because the essence of the small divine world is higher than that of the Douluo world. Ordinary people cannot understand it at all, and naturally cannot understand it. This is what is called indescribable. Compared with the world model of the Douluo realm, the small divine world was too small. After turning into film, it directly covered the Douluo realm completely. Seeing the film transformed by the small divine world covering the Douluo realm, Wu Tong's mouth corners slightly raised. Then, Wu Tong's mind moved, and he called on the authority of the Lord of the World in his body, controlling the Douluo realm to release the world's fetal membrane to protect the world and resist external erosion. Then, Wu Tong saw, as the defense of the world's fetal membrane was released, the thin membrane transformed from the small divine world, like a cat seeing a mouse, went straight along the place where the world's defense was released and drilled into the Douluo world. Chapter 503, Fusion completed, Lu Kuoya's feeling. After seeing the small divine world entering the Douluo realm, Wu Tong immediately activated the Douluo realm's defense barrier, the world fetal membrane, so that the world fetal membrane could continue to resist the dangers from the outside world. After all, you have to know that the external threats from the endless void and the universe are almost everywhere. Although Wu Tong is not very afraid of those things, it is better to avoid them as much as possible if he can. He doesn't want to waste his rest time to deal with those ghosts. After restarting the world fetal membrane, Wu Tong sank his consciousness into the world model of the Douluo realm. As soon as he entered the Douluo realm model, Wu Tong saw the small divine world that was hovering above the world model, waiting for his order, and had turned into transparent film. Seeing this, Wu Tong was not surprised. You have to know that this is the small divine world that is going to merge with the Douluo realm, and Wu Tong will naturally not let it have consciousness. So as early as when refining the small divine world, Wu Tong had deprived the small divine world of the possibility of birth of consciousness through the authority of consciousness, fate and order. In other words, before the little God realm merged with the Douluo realm, it was just a tool without any consciousness, and could only act freely under Wu Tong's guidance. Only after it was completely merged with the Douluo realm could it learn from the aura of the Douluo realm and give birth to consciousness. Huh? Why are you off topic again? Shaking his head and throwing away his distracting thoughts, Wu Tong looked at the little God realm membrane not far away, and his mind moved. Then he directly controlled the membrane and moved towards the real body of the Douluo realm model, the world core and the interface fetus. The interface fetus was the fundamental core of the world that Wu Tong discovered in the world model after he became the master of the world. Once this fundamental core was damaged, the whole world would suffer. If it was other powerful people who wanted to see the core of the world, it would naturally not be so simple, let alone let the world core merge with other things, which could simply be said to be a fool's dream. After all, you have to know that the fundamental core of a world is the most important thing in a world. Not to mention integrating other things, even if you take a second look at it, you may be hostile and attacked by the world. But Wu Tong is different. As the master of the Douluo realm, he has absolute control over the control of the Douluo realm. In addition, the little God realm was refined by Wu Tong himself, and naturally carries Wu Tong's information and imprints, so this world fusion can be said to be unusually smooth. As soon as the little God realm membrane came into contact with the interface fetus, it immediately merged directly into the interface fetus like a cup of water falling on a sponge. Without causing the slightest resistance from the interface fetus, it completely merged with it and turned into a dimensional world that is completely dependent on the Douluo realm, but is half a dimension higher than the Douluo realm, the Douluo version of the little God realm. Oh, great, it's finally done. Looking at the little God realm that has been completely integrated with the Douluo realm and transformed into a high-dimensional world exclusive to the Douluo realm. Wu Tong's face suddenly showed an excited look. Although Wu Tong had already deduced the fusion of the small God realm in the Douluo realm, and knew that this fusion would almost never fail. However, this behavior, controlling the fusion of the worlds, was only his first time after all, so although he knew that nothing would go wrong, Wu Tong was still very nervous about the fusion of the worlds. You know, if the fusion of the small worlds fails, it will be completely destroyed because of the collision of the worlds. In other words, if this fusion fails, Wu Tong will lose everything. Not only will the hard refined small God realm be completely destroyed, but even maintaining the stability of the Douluo realm will require a large amount of expenditure at that time. Fortunately, not only did the worst situation not occur, but the fusion also went very smoothly. How could Wu Tong not be happy about this? And just after Wu Tong controlled the small God realm to completely merge into the Douluo realm. In the Douluo world, almost all the creatures had an inexplicable sense of joy in their hearts. It was as if they felt that something particularly beneficial to them had happened. However, most of the creatures just regarded this sudden feeling as an illusion, laughed it off, and did not take it to heart. Only a few powerful people, or some smart people, can understand the complexity of this feeling. After all, the strong will always be strong. After reaching a certain level of strength, for them, even a simple whim has its unique meaning. Bibi Dong, what is this? After Luosha died, how come so many things suddenly appeared? Jin Dao Liu, God? Is this your guidance? Poseidon, Lord Poseidon, what happened to you? Why has this world become so strange? King of Slaughter, what is going on? First, the death of Shura God, then the destruction of the city of Slaughter, and then the changes in the world. Now King of Slaughter, it seems that only a few months have passed. Why is this world becoming more and more strange? Xingluo worship, is this change caused by God again? Sword Douluo, Bone Douluo, Golden Crocodile Douluo, Poison Douluo, Kevin. Almost everyone who has reached a certain level of strength has felt confused and curious about this sudden change. In the Academy, Training Department, Magic Branch, Elemental Magic Department, Grade 1, Class 1, just starting to learn, is there anything wrong with being a Grade 1 student? As if sensing something new in this world, Lucia, who was teaching students with great interest, suddenly looked up at the ceiling. No, it should be the ceiling, the boundless sky. The students who were originally listening to the class below, after seeing Lucia's actions, all looked confused, and didn't understand why this universe-level teacher suddenly made such a move. However, Lucia did not notice the student's sight. Her eyes seemed to penetrate all obstacles and look straight beyond the sky. As expected, she saw the familiar figure standing in outer space. Wu Tong? Was it him who did it? No wonder, after seeing that it was Wu Tong who did it, Lucia withdrew his gaze. Since it was Wu Tong who did it, he must have made some arrangements. If that was the case, then he would not care. Chapter 504, Transformation of the Small God Realm, 36 Heavens. After retracting the idea, Lucia narrowed his eyes and cast his gaze towards the students with young faces below. He couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction and happiness for his skipping class behavior. I have been so comfortable during this period. As expected, Following Wu Tong to this world is the most correct decision I have made in these years. After sighing in his heart, Lu Qiu looked at the puzzled students and said in a gentle tone, "Classmates, come back to your senses. Next, let's talk about the arrangement of magic elements and the influence on the power of magic." Standing in space, Wu Tong, who was still happy because the Douluo realm merged with a god realm, felt a questing gaze coming. He was stunned at first, and then cast his gaze towards the place where the gaze came from. Lu Qiu? Did she feel something? Yes, after all, Lu Qiu is also a dragon god, and one of the gods of creation of Mesopotamian civilization. Even if Lu Qiu lost her godhood because of that incident, as a dragon, her perception of the world is still not weak. After seeing the source of the sight, Wu Tong nodded with a look of realization. If it was Lu Qiu, she would naturally be able to perceive the changes in the world. After all, she is also one of the gods of creation of Mesopotamian civilization. The changes in the world are naturally not a hidden thing for a god like her who has the power of creation. After understanding the source of the sight, Wu Tong withdrew his thoughts. Wu Tong thought that she knew a lot about Lu Qiu, the dragon. After all, judging from Lu Qiu's personality, even if she knew something, she should not bother to care about it. After all, Lu Qiu is a hidden salted fish. Therefore, Wu Tong did not need to care about Lu Qiu. Since there was no need to care, Wu Tong would not focus on Lu Qiu. After coming to his senses, Wu Tong looked at the world model in his hand, gently squeezed it, and the basin-sized world model was taken back into Wu Tong's body. After taking back the world model, Wu Tong took a step forward. The next second, Wu Tong's figure moved, and in an instant it turned into a wisp of green smoke, and then disappeared from the spot. At this moment, in the small divine world, although it merged with the Douluo world and became a high-dimensional world, half a dimension higher than the Douluo world. However, at this moment, the small divine world, although it has been born, has just been bound to the Douluo world and has just successfully opened up the world. There is nothing inside it, and looking around, you can only see an endless chaos. Here, light and darkness are intertwined into an indescribable gray, which is neither absolutely bright nor completely dark. Infinite light and endless darkness converged into the original chaos. This chaos seemed to be the origin of everything, and it seemed to be the appearance of the world at the beginning. This is the state of the small divine world at this time, the beginning of the birth, the original chaos, self-made. The appearance of all worlds at the beginning of their birth is a chaotic state, and in this small world that seemed to be in chaos and the world was not divided, a figure suddenly appeared in the central part of the world. Looking closely, who else could it be but Wu Tong? After entering the small divine world and standing still, Wu Tong looked at the surrounding environment that was like the legendary chaotic world, and couldn't help but frown. Although I didn't expect much from this newly opened small world, but this, looking at the chaos around him, the appearance of all things at the beginning, Wu Tong felt tired. Alice, it seems that I have to work overtime again. Wu Tong looked at this empty place, and felt a tingling in his heart. Although it didn't look like work, there was nothing he could do. You know, in a few days, he was planning to find those powerful people in the Douluo realm to come to the God realm to discuss the affairs of the small God realm and the 10,000 worlds. But the current scene in the small God realm, if it is used as a meeting place, I am afraid that he will be nailed to the pillar of shame of the Lord of the 10,000 worlds. Thinking of this, Wu Tong shuddered and shook his head to deny. No, this is not possible. If it gets out, will he still have this old face? I'd better focus on building. Wu Tong looked at the surrounding environment and sighed helplessly, but turned around and said with some relief, but fortunately, with the cultural records of several worlds, my knowledge reserves are still sufficient. Plus, this small divine world has been completely integrated with the Douluo realm, so it naturally becomes a field that I can control. With the authority of the Lord of the world, changing the world is a piece of cake for me. After all, the Lord of the world is too buggy in the world he controls. If he wants to create something, he doesn't even need the materials. He can easily change the world with just a thought. That means, the only thing that bothers me now is the layout and style of the buildings. Wu Tong muttered as he thought about what kind of buildings should be used to transform this small divine world. What should we transform it into? A palace? No, it's too common. A temple? That's not good either. It's too petty. A natural landscape? Yes. But it seems a bit wasteful. Underwater world? Western fantasy world? Martial arts fantasy style? Fairy style? Mythology world? Wu Tong kept repeating the names of buildings, thinking about how to transform this world. Suddenly, when he accidentally said a word, Wu Tong was startled, and then stopped. Mythology world, small god realm mythology world, Wu Tong kept repeating, and the light in his eyes became brighter and brighter. Suddenly, Wu Tong seemed to have made up his mind. His eyes lit up and he said with a smile, "Yeah, why didn't I think of it just now? Since the small divine world is based on the three realms of the immortal world, why not borrow it more thoroughly? This small divine world can be directly imitated from the 36 heavens in mythology. This scene is definitely big enough. And with the characteristics of the small divine world, it can just serve as the facade of the heaven. Besides, now that we have the heaven and the human world, if we create an underworld that is specifically responsible for the reincarnation and resurrection of the soul, the Douluo version of the three realms, isn't it coming out?" Chapter 505, completed, 36 heavens, immortal realm. At this point, Wu Tong smiled. He had admired the 36 heavens in Taoist mythology for a long time. This time, he finally had a chance to try it out. Moreover, the mysterious and magnificent 36 heavens of Taoism were more like the divine world and the divine world, and they would definitely shock the country bumpkins from the Douluo Continent. Afterwards, after making up his mind, Wu Tong no longer wasted time. Looking at the chaotic space in front of him, his mind moved. In an instant, the authority of the Lord of the world was directly called by Wu Tong, and the whole world began to change in a complex and diverse way according to Wu Tong's thoughts. At this moment, with Wu Tong's intention, the originally chaotic and boundless world suddenly began to change drastically. The clear and turbid air gradually became clear, the clear air rose to the sky, and the turbid air sank to the earth. Soon, the chaos was gradually divided into clear poles of heaven and earth. Then, as Wu Tong exerted his strength again, the two poles of heaven and earth, which had been stabilized, instantly split again. The power of chaos surged again between the interweaving of yin and yang. Soon, a new world appeared above the heaven and earth. Following closely, the third, fourth, and fifth were superimposed one by one. Soon, after the birth of the largest, most magnificent, and most vast world, the 36th layer, the scene of the creation of the world in mythology finally stopped. The overall framework is done, and the next step is to refine the content. Being on the 36th layer of heaven, Wu Tong looked down at the 35th layer of heaven and earth that he had built with his own hands, and felt very satisfied. The 36th layer of heaven constructed by Wu Tong only borrowed the concept and name of the 36th layer of heaven in Taoism, but from the perspective of the core structure, it is completely different from the real 36th layer of heaven. The 36th layer of heaven constructed by Wu Tong is in the shape of an inverted pyramid that changes from large to small from top to bottom. The lowest layer of heaven and earth, that is, the smallest layer of heaven and earth, is only the area of a continent. But each layer of heaven and earth after it is twice as large as the previous layer. But even so, the highest layer of heaven and earth is only equal to Douluo star. To be honest, this 36th heaven is really a bit small, not even a hair of the 36th heaven of Taoism, and it did not meet Wu Tong's expectations. But Wu Tong did not feel discouraged at all, because no one would know better as a refiner of the small divine realm, how great the potential will be after the small divine realm and the Douluo realm are bound. Although this small divine realm looks small, it is bound to the Douluo realm, that is to say, as long as the Douluo realm grows, this small divine realm will grow with it. And judging from Wu Tong's plan for the Douluo realm, the future Douluo realm can definitely be said to have a promising future, and it is not an exaggeration. This means that this small divine world may become like the prehistoric heaven in the future, and become a real world. At that time, the 36 heavens can naturally be called the real 36 heavens. However, the future is only the future after all. Now it is better to let your heart return to the present and be down to earth. So soon, Wu Tong began to fine-tune the structure of the 36 heavens with his expectations, which is the so-called decoration. The Taoist 36 heavens were originally an illusory space where the gods lived, conceived by Taoism based on the theory of the universe creation of all things. But at this moment, it was really constructed one by one in Wu Tong's hands. 6 heavens of desire, Tehuang Wang Zengshan, Taiming Yuanshan, Kingming Atongshan, Zuante Pingayushan, Yuanming Wenjushan, Qi Ao Moi Ishan. The 18 heavens of the realm of form, Zua Yuhang heaven, Taiji Mengai heaven, Chiming Heiang heaven, Zuan Mingguanghu heaven, Yao Mingzuang Piao heaven, Ziuluo Huangju heaven, Zuming Tang Yao heaven, Guanming Duanjing Heaven, Zuming Gongking Heaven, Tehongjiao Heaven, Yuan Zekong Sheng Heaven, Taoyan Huangai Heaven, Zion Dingjifan Heaven, Shihuang Xiamang Heaven, Tehuang Wengchong Heaven, Wuxi Jiangaiao Heaven, Shang Sharuan Lishan, Wuji Tanshi Heaven. The four heavens of the formless realm, Hao Ding Ziodu Heaven, Yuantong Yuandong Heaven, Hongchong Maya Chang Heaven, Xiu Li Jinshang Heaven. The four Brahma Heavens, Washing Changrong Heaven, Yulong Tensheng Heaven, Longbian Fandu Heaven, Pingayu Jiai Heaven. The three pure heavens, Taking Dachi Heaven, Shanking Yuayu Heaven, Yuking Kingwei Heaven. And the highest heaven and earth, Washing Daluo Heaven. Under the almost omnipotent power of the Lord of the world, this small divine world, which was originally empty and had only the original chaotic scene, was shaped into the legendary 36 heavens by Wu Tong in a short time. In order to restore the legendary fairy-like environment, Wu Tong even directly modified the world rules of this small divine world, adding a layer of fairy clouds lingering bottom rule to the small divine world, so that the small divine world is always surrounded by fairy mist for producers. Endless jade buildings, magnificent palaces and sacrificial towers, immersed in the misty sea of clouds, set against the golden sky, appear magnificent. The golden air rolls up the clouds, and the clouds are clear. The white rainbow silk is intertwined, and the light mist is smoky. The golden light is accompanied by rolling red clouds, and the auspicious clouds are shrouded in purple mist. In the clouds and wind, there is a corridor every 5 miles and a pavilion every 10 miles. The corners of the corridors have flying eaves, the palace walls and courtyards, the scaly tiles, the green walls, several palace willows, clear blue water, jagged rocks, and flying cranes, which looks like a magnificent scene of the immortals. The green mountains are emerald, the palaces are majestic, and the Yuking Palace is located on the top of the peak. Surrounded by clouds, there are a few auspicious cranes flying by with long cries, hovering in the air, like the spiritual realm of the immortals, which makes people admire. Countless buildings carved with the gold and jade, the fairy mist lingering with fairy air, and the rising and surging sea of clouds can directly give people a sense of being in a fairyland. After finishing all this, Wu Tong looked at the scene of the immortal temple in front of him, which was created by himself, and nodded with satisfaction. Well, that's right, the palace is towering and hidden in the mist, and the fairy music floats around the jade world. This can be called the magnificent scenery of the immortals. The design of the Taoist 36 heavens, coupled with the fairyland-like environment layout, even I, the creator, was shocked, let alone those country bumpkins who have never seen such a magnificent scenery. After that, Wu Tong looked at the Douluo Continent below again, with a smile on his face. Now that it's done, it's time to notify them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 506, Announcement, Mainland Shocked. Haha, be thankful, everyone, a brand new era is finally coming. After muttering to himself, Wu Tong looked at the Douluo realm below, and used the authority of the Lord of the Douluo realm to release a message to the minds of the strong and the leaders of the forces in the Douluo realm. I, Wu Tong, the current Lord of the Douluo realm, will invite you to discuss matters in the small God realm in 3 days. I hope you will be aware of this and arrange your subordinates' matters in advance. As soon as this voice was heard, it directly rang in the minds of all the strong and the leaders of the forces in the Douluo realm, attracting the attention of the entire Douluo realm. However, after Wu Tong finished speaking, he did not pay attention to those people who were in an uproar. He turned around and left the small God realm and walked towards the direction of the academy. 9 Treasures Glazed Sect 9 Treasures Hall. Ning Fengzi, who already knew that Ning Rongrong had achieved her wish a few days ago, was discussing matters related to Ning Rongrong and Wu Tong with Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. Hearing the voice that suddenly sounded in his mind, the tone of whose speech paused. Ning Fengzi was not a strong man, but Wu Tong still sent a message for him to take care of his father-in-law, Uncle Jian. Uncle Gu, did you hear it? Is this Wu Tong's voice? Ning Fengzi looked at the 2 old men who were standing aside in disbelief. Sword Douluo Chenzin nodded and said solemnly, I heard it. This voice is indeed Wu Tong's. Only he can send us a message without our consent. Bone Douluo Gu Rong did not care about Chenzin's analysis. but looked at Ning Fengzi and said solemnly, "Swordsman is right. It is indeed Wu Tong's voice. But what about the little God realm and the Lord of Douluo realm he mentioned? What's the matter?" "I don't know." Ning Fengzi looked at the direction of the Yuhu Canyon in the distance, and suddenly smiled and said, "But what is certain is that for us, this must be a good thing. Wu Tong, who has become a god, the Lord of Douluo realm, 3 days later, the little God realm." The amount of information in these words is really too much. But for them, it doesn't matter at all. With the relationship between their 9 treasures glazed sect and Wu Tong, and the relationship between Ning Rongrong and Wu Tong, as long as they don't destroy this friendship, then no matter what Wu Tong becomes, no matter how strong he becomes, they can get great preferential treatment. "The investment we made was the right one," Ning Fengzi said happily while pondering the words in his mind. "Yes, if we knew that Wu Tong could achieve what he has now, we should have invested more." Gu Rong, who was standing by, heard Ning Fengzi's words and said with a look of approval and annoyance, "Coward, you are so naive. I should have known earlier, none of your business. You dead sword man." Haha. Listening to the argument between the two elders, Ning Fengzi laughed happily. This leisurely life is really happy and satisfying. Because since they got close to Wu Tong, the situation of their Jiubeoliuli sect has been getting better day by day. First, the Haoshan sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect, which were also the top 3 sects, were destroyed, making their Jiubeoliuli sect the only top sect in one fell swoop. There is one of Wu's own students, who successfully succeeded to the throne of the Xiandao Empire and became a generation of King Emperor. Later, there were those guys who frantically tried to curry favor with Wu Tong, so they frantically tried to please their 9 treasures glazed sect and gave them gifts. It can be said that the current 9 treasures glazed sect has already fulfilled the vision of their ancestors to carry forward. And the root of all this is just the investment that was made at the beginning. Thinking of this, Ning Fengzi's heart moved slightly, and he was more looking forward to the meeting that Wu Tong mentioned 3 days later. Xiandao Empire. Xiandao City. Douluo Mansion. "Father, do you mean that Mr. Wu Tong just spoke in your mind?" Du Guzin looked at Du Gubo sitting in the main seat and asked curiously. How did you know?" Du Gubo, who was thinking about the deep meaning of Wu Tong's words, responded after hearing Du Guzin's words. Then he immediately reacted. How did Du Guzin know that Wu Tong had transmitted the sound? Did he hear it too? Thinking of this, Du Gubo quickly asked, "Did you hear it too?" "Well, that's not the case. It's just that you, father, said it yourself when you were thinking just now." Du Guzin was choked by Du Gubo's question, and then he waved his hand and explained. Okay. After hearing Du Guzin's words, Du Gubo also reacted. "It seems that he thought too much," he said. "What can Wu Tong do by transmitting the sound to Du Guzin? Isn't that a pure waste of time? What's the point of transmitting the sound to this kid?" Just like all parents, when they see their children who they haven't seen for a long time, they will indulge them for a few days because of love, but once this period of time has passed, parents will not like their children in any way. Du Gubo is also in this state. When Du Guzin didn't come back, he was annoyed, missed and regretted. But a few months after Du Guzin came back, Du Gubo looked at this guy's face again, and the more he looked at it, the more he felt disgusted. "Chu, why do I always feel like someone is teasing me behind my back?" Du Guzin, who was despised by Du Gubo, suddenly sneezed, and an inexplicable feeling of discomfort emerged in his heart. This feeling was as if someone was teasing him in secret. "Oh, cough, cough." Du Gubo, who was thinking about Du Guzin in his heart, coughed quickly after hearing the words, put away his thoughts, and said to Du Guzin, "Okay, don't worry about it. What Wu Tong said has nothing to do with you. If you have the time, you might as well collect resources and prepare to exchange them for Rauer's self-made, Du Guzin's wife, resurrection coins." After hearing Du Gubo's words, Du Guzin didn't have the mind to think about anything else, and started to complain directly. "Father, you make it sound so easy. Now the resources on the mainland have almost been collected by that group of guys. Where are the extra resources for me to find?" However, Du Gubo didn't give Du Guzin any face after hearing the words, and rolled his eyes and said, There is no way? Can't you think of a way? Aren't there many resources in the sea? Wouldn't it be good to go to the academy to be a teacher? The resources in the starred out Great Forest can still be collected by others." Chapter 507 Du Guzin's unhappiness. Look at what you said, father. Are these words human? Douluo Jin couldn't help rolling his eyes when he heard Douluo's words. Let me go to the sea? To that kind of ghost place where 10,000-year soul beasts are worse than dogs and only 100,000-year soul beasts can shake? If you want me to die, you can just say it directly, no need to beat around the bush. Is that kind of ghost place a place where a soul emperor like me can go? There is also the starred-out Great Forest. Yes, the resources of the starred-out Great Forest have not been collected, but that is only the inner circle. For example, the resources in the outer range have been swallowed up by the group of jackals who are almost crazy and are robbing resources some time ago. I even heard that the coverage of the starred-out Great Forest has shrunk several circles now. Where are there any remaining resources outside? As for the inner circle, the same thing still applies. A place where hundreds of thousands of year soul beasts gather and live in seclusion. Is it a place where a small soul emperor like me can go? Even if I want to die, I don't want to do it this way. Let's talk about that thing again. You're going to be a teacher in the academy, right? This is even more ridiculous. How good are the benefits of being a teacher in the academy? My daughter is a student of the academy, how could I not know? I don't want to go? Is it possible? Am I not going to go? I'm going crazy thinking about it. But I just didn't go. If I were to be a teacher, I would have to teach my students something, right? But what can I teach? Cultivation, drug making, combat strategy, cultural theory. Please, I've been dead for more than 10 years, and the knowledge I have mastered is no longer applicable to this era. What else can I teach? I'm still learning myself. Do you think I don't want to go? Even if I go, I have nothing to teach my students. Douluo Jin had a dull expression on his face, and he looked like he was listening to Douluo's lessons, but in fact, in his heart, he was almost going crazy complaining. Okay, I'm annoyed when I see you. I'll go find Wu Tong and ask about the sound transmission. As for you, if you have nothing to do, go out and explore. Anyway, your martial spirit poison has been solved. Since your life is not in danger, go out and explore. As expected, after seeing Douluo Jin's stupid look, Douluo rolled his eyes and said with a look of disappointment. After saying that, Douluo stood up and walked out the door without even looking at Douluo Jin. Douluo Jin was left standing there, dumbfounded and speechless, wanting to say something but unable to say it. For a moment, that figure looked particularly bleak. Wuhan Hall. Wu Tong. After 3 days, listening to the voice in her mind, Bibi Dong's eyes flashed, and she was not surprised. Wu Tong has power comparable to or even beyond that of gods. She has long known that. In her impression, it is not surprising to transmit voice in people's minds with the power of gods. So Bibi Dong was not surprised when she heard this voice. Instead, she thought of Wu Tong's excellence and felt a little regretful. I didn't expect that in just a few years, the boy who was not taken seriously by me would reach this level with his own efforts. The results of the awakening of martial souls will be collected by each martial soul branch hall and sent back to the martial soul hall. As a genius whose martial soul awakens the innate full soul power, Wu Tong is also a member of the attention. It's just that because it is the original martial soul, it has not been taken seriously by Bibi Dong. Thinking of this, Bibi Dong sighed. If she had known that Wu Tong would have such an achievement today, when she was robbing people in Notting City, she should have gone by herself. Otherwise, how could Zuir get the chance to reap the benefits? Just when Bibi Dong was thinking about the past and feeling annoyed. Rumble with a dull sound, the door of the spirit hall was slowly opened. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Bibi Dong looked up. As a result, she saw at a glance the man who walked in, exuding a disgusting holy light aura, the great worshipper of the spirit hall, one of the original 3 extreme Douluo, the man known as Invincible in the Sky, Angel Douluo Jin Douluo. He was also the biological father of the founder of her tragic fate. Seeing that Jin Douluo walked into the spirit hall without her permission, Bibi Dong's originally calm face suddenly became gloomy. After experiencing that incident, her relationship with Jin Ringsu had improved, but that was only because Jin Ringsu was her daughter. Her relationship with her daughter had improved, but that did not mean that she would forget what Jin's Unji and the Jin family had done to her. In Bibi Dong's heart, except for Zuir, all the people of the Jin family are still her enemies. And Jin Douluo, the only one of the Jin family, is no exception. So, when she saw Jin Douluo actually took the initiative to find her, Bibi Dong's eyes suddenly became more fierce. Boom! Without saying anything, and without listening to Jin Douluo's intention, Bibi Dong directly took action. With Bibidong's actions, a mighty and magnificent aura, like an abyss or a prison, instantly spread from her body and pressed towards Jindaoliu not far away. The Rakshasa god is dead, and Bibidong, who no longer needs to be suppressed by the Rakshasa god, can freely squander her magnificent aura that has long reached the limit of Douluo cultivation. This magnificent aura, combined with the Bibidong's pressure that has been soaked in the power of the Rakshasa god and carries the power of the Rakshasa god, is immediately filled with a power that makes people palpitate. Feeling the majestic momentum of Bibidong carrying the power of Rakshasa, Jindaoliu's eyes flashed with surprise. Ultimate Douluo? And the power of the evil god, Bibidong, you are hiding it very well, but it's a pity that you are still a little short of the fire. As the high priest of the angel god, Jindaoliu's strength is naturally not comparable to that of ordinary ultimate Douluo. Under the influence of divine power and faith, although he has not broken through the 100th level to become a god on these years, his strength has long surpassed that of ordinary ultimate Douluo, and even approached the level of gods, one of the changes brought by Wu Tong. Wu Tong followed Jinriksu for 6 years and proposed countless soul master theories. Chapter 508, Rakshas's Conspiracy, an Artistic Layout. It is precisely because of these theories that Jindaoliu has some feelings. In the end, Jindaoliu has made half a step forward on the road of cultivation by experiencing these insights, and has become a demigod only half a step away from the gods. This means that Jindaoliu has already reached a state that can be called a demigod, or a pseudo-god. It is precisely because of this that when facing Bibidong's terrifying aura, Jindaoliu felt a little surprised, but he didn't take it to heart. After all, the gap between gods and mortals is greater than the chasm of nature. Even if he is only a demigod now, it is not something that Bibidong, the extreme Douluo, can touch. Jindaoliu can confidently say, as long as the gods don't take the initiative, then with his strength, he can almost be said to have few opponents in this Douluo continent, self-perceived. Therefore, facing the majestic aura that swept over like a landslide and tsunami, carrying the power of God, Jindaoliu didn't even raise his head, but just said lightly, break in an instant, the violent momentum that swept the entire Wuhan hall like a storm. With Jindaoliu's scolding, it directly disappeared, and the house decorations that were originally clanging in the whole room also settled down again. Tisk seeing that her momentum was suppressed and Jindaoliu broke through it, Bibidong's eyes flashed with a hint of understanding. Sure enough, with her current strength, it is still a bit too early to deal with this increasingly mysterious old guy. Thinking of this, Bibidong could only suppress her dissatisfaction with Jindaoliu in her heart, and curled her lips and secretly spit. Child, you? Seeing Bibidong's behavior that was almost the same as that of a child, Jindaoliu felt speechless in his heart, and at the same time, he couldn't help but feel a little relieved. It seems that after that incident, Bibidong's mentality has indeed changed a little. It's worth my effort to lead that guy to the spirit hall and reveal the true situation of the past just when Jindaoliu was feeling relieved. Bibidong looked at the old guy who had been standing there without saying a word since he came, and immediately urged him impatiently, if you don't say anything, you can go out directly. You should know that I don't want to meet you. Hearing Bibidong's voice, Jindaoliu came back to his senses. So Jindaoliu didn't waste any more time, because he knew that Bibidong was really capable of driving people away. So Jindaoliu sighed, organized his words, and then said, I came to you because of Wu Tong. Wu Tong? What happened to him? Hearing Jindaoliu's words, Bibidong frowned. This old guy, how come he came so coincidentally? She just thought of Wu Tong, and Jindaoliu came to her door to tell her about Wu Tong. Jindaoliu answered irrelevantly, you should know about the fall of gods, right? After all, you are also the inheritor of an evil god. Bibidong did not deny it. After all, others could not recognize the might of the Rakshasa just now, but the man in front of him was the high priest of the angel god. How could he not recognize him? So Bibidong nodded. Of course, the Rakshasa secret realm had problems during my divine test, but what does this have to do with Wu Tong? Could it be that he did it? After hearing the words Rakshasa secret realm and divine test, Jindaoliu seemed to have suddenly figured something out. His pupils shrank slightly, and there was both envy and fear in his eyes. He envied that Bibidong could actually be favored by the gods and become a distinguished divine examiner. But what made him feel scared was the news that Bibidong became a divine examiner, Rakshasa secret realm. From the forward information, Jindaoliu already knew which god's divine test Bibidong inherited. After all, Who else could be qualified to name the secret realm after Rakshasa, except for the ancestor of their angel clan, the mortal enemy of the angel god, Rakshasa god? As the mortal enemy of Rakshasa god, it can be said that no one can understand this evil god better than their angel clan. Speaking of this Rakshasa god, he is not a good thing. Crazy, depraved, evil, twisted. He seems to be the condensation of all evil. He takes pleasure in playing with mortals and appreciating their depravity. He once set off many bloody storms on the Douluo Continent. What Rakshasa god likes most is to enjoy killing geniuses. In his opinion, there is nothing that can make him happier than witnessing the so-called geniuses gradually degenerate and eventually die. Because of this hobby, there are many geniuses in history who have been favored by Rakshasa god and played to death. It is also for this reason that the ancestor of their Jinn family, the angel god, did not get along with the Rakshasa god. First he stopped the other party, then educated him, and finally fought. In this way, the contradictions between the two gods became more and more serious. In the end, the two gods had completely regarded each other as mortal enemies. So, when he heard that Bibidong inherited the throne of the Rakshasa god, Jin Daoliu immediately rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, the god realm had been destroyed, otherwise, he could almost guess Bibidong's future ending. With a hatred of the Rakshasa god for the angel god and the angel lineage, he must have wished that the angel clan would die completely. After he sacrificed his death for Xiaoxu to become a god, Xiaoxu was the only one left in their angel clan. Under this god-given opportunity, it would be strange if the Rakshasa god could hold back. Therefore, in the future, when Bibidong becomes a god, he will inevitably fight a life and death battle with Zuir under the influence of the Rakshasa god. Given Zuir's personality and her feelings for Bibidong, she would definitely not be able to kill Bibidong. On the contrary, if Bibidong had not come to her senses and still believed that Zuir was an evil obstacle that should not have been born, she would definitely not show mercy to Zuir during the duel. The final result would inevitably be that Bibidong killed Zuir herself, and then after killing Zuir, Bibidong realized her feelings for Zuir and committed suicide to pay for her life. All of this was linked together and cleverly connected, like a domino. Once it started, the result was already revealed. This conspiracy layout, like a work of art, made Jin Daoliu shudder and shudder. Chapter 509, Tracing the Source of Memories, Reliving the Destruction of the God Realm. As for who is the final winner? Who else could be the final winner except the mastermind behind the scenes who has always been sitting on the Daoyute Rakshasa god? Let Bibidong inherit the Rakshasa god position. Not only can he get rid of the constraints of the god position with the help of Bibidong, but also walk freely and unconstrained in the universe. He also enjoyed a fight between mother and daughter, full of love, hatred, and played with two geniuses who became gods to death to satisfy his own bad taste. Then he killed the inheritance of the angel god position, completely destroyed the angel clan, and finally killed the only remaining blood relative of the angel clan, Bibidong, Jin Ringsu's mother. Kill 5 birds with 1 stone. What a good plan, Rakshasa god. You are really good at planning. After realizing the sinister intentions of Luosha god, Jin Daoliu gnashed his teeth in hatred, and at the same time, he couldn't help but feel a sense of fear in his heart. If Wu Tong hadn't destroyed the god realm and turned the gods of the god realm into death gods, Luosha god's plan might have succeeded in the end. And once Luosha god's plan succeeded, the inheritance of their angel clan would have completely disappeared from this world in the future. Thinking of this, Jin Daoliu couldn't help but burst out with a murderous intent in his eyes. Luo Shan. God? You really deserve to die? Bibidong, sitting on the Pope's throne, looked at Jin Daoliu's uncertain old face below, which turned black and white, and the sudden burst of murderous intent, and couldn't help but mutter in her heart, is this old guy mentally ill? But no matter whether Jin Daoliu had a problem with his brain or not, Bibidong didn't have the heart to appreciate his old face. So Bibidong crossed her legs and said impatiently, "Old man, I'm asking you a question. If you don't want to talk, then you can leave. Anyway, I can investigate it myself." Hearing Bibidong's words, Jin Daoliu temporarily suppressed his murderous intent towards the Rakshasa god and nodded. Well, the destruction of the god realm was indeed done by that little guy Wu Tong. Oh, hearing this, Bibidong's heart suddenly became a little interested. But then he thought, how could Jin Daoliu know this news? Logically speaking, he should not know this news. Bibidong looked at Jin Daoliu and asked, then how did you know? Did you ask him? Bibidong looked at Jin Daoliu and pondered in her heart. After all, Judging from the relationship between Jin Ringsu and Wu Tong, if Jin Daoliu went to ask, Wu Tong would definitely not hide it. Jin Daoliu shook his head. No, but some time ago, my god passed down a message, which contained all the processes of Wu Tong's destruction of the god realm. Jin Daoliu took out a crystal ball from the storage soul guide and threw it to Bibi Dong on the Pope's throne. The source of remembrance? You actually bought this kind of thing. Bibi Dong caught the crystal ball, took a look at it, and recognized what it was. The 7th level soul guide, the source of remembrance. The Wutong Chamber of Commerce, co-founded by Wu Tong and Jin Ringsu, a tool for making money, released a soul guide 2 years ago. This soul guide attracted a large number of buyers at the beginning, but it has not been sold much since then. After all, this soul guide does not have any strong attack and defense power. Its only function is to extract and save a memory. And the source of remembrance can only save a memory. The function is single, and the practicality is not high. Therefore, although this thing is a high-level soul guide, not many people buy it, so it can be said to be a very unpopular soul guide. However, although it is unpopular, Bibi Dong still has several sources of this memory. After all, it would be a pity if some memories were not recorded well, isn't it? For example, the moment of Kyank Sunji's death. Jin Daoliu shrugged, with a slightly gentle tone. I didn't buy this, Zuir gave it to me, but the focus now is still the memory inside, isn't it? Bibi Dong took a deep look at Jin Daoliu, curled the corners of her mouth, and said, let me see what you are up to, old man. After that, Bibi Dong stretched out her mental power, connected to the source of remembrance in her hand, and checked the memories stored in it, the time and space barrier that enveloped the god realm, the huge dimensional gate, the huge star that directly turned into a weapon. Wu Tong, who suddenly turned into the appearance of a blonde boy, Karna, the sun's spear thrown towards the god realm, and the gradually destroyed god realm. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It's more than the fall of the gods, this is the destruction of the god realm. No wonder those places where the gods inherited are all shattered. A moment later, Bibi Dong, who had escaped from the memory in the source of remembrance, gasped and recalled the scene in it with an incredible look on her face. Is this the reason for the destruction of the god realm? Wu Tong directly used a spear made of the sun to pierce and explode it? Isn't this little guy Wu Tong a little too supermodel? If I remember correctly, those gods can't even destroy a planet, right? How can Wu Tong use the sun to explode the god realm? How long has he been a god? This growth rate is simply terrifying. Jin Daoliu was not surprised when he saw Bibi Dong's loss of control. After all, it was impossible for him to maintain his posture when he witnessed the destruction of the god realm with his own eyes. You know, when he saw this memory, he was even more out of control than Bibi Dong. So Jin Daoliu didn't say anything, just quietly waiting for Bibi Dong to adjust. After a long while, Bibi Dong finally adjusted her posture. She glanced at the source of recollection in her hand, then looked at Jin Daoliu, and asked in a subtle tone, so? What do you want to explain by showing this to me? Are you planning to drag me to avenge the angel god and the Rakshasa god? Hearing Bibi Dong's guess, Jin Daoliu suddenly had several black lines on his forehead. Do you think I'm crazy? After seeing this, I still dare to find trouble with Wu Tong. Hearing Jin Daoliu's words, Bibi Dong was stunned at first, and then laughed directly. Her laughter was so crazy that there were even a few tears in the corners of her eyes. Chapter 510 Jin Daoliu's Request. After a while, Bibi Dong stopped, wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, looked at Jin Daoliu's figure, and said sarcastically, I didn't expect it, it's really unexpected, the angel god you believe in is dead, and you, the high priest, not only don't think about revenge for her, but say such words. It seems that you, the so-called devout believer of the angel god, are not very devout. Upon hearing this, Jin Daoliu seemed to have not heard Bibi Dong's sarcasm, and said expressionlessly, Wu Tong has the means to resurrect, which means that the angel god, he still has the possibility of resurrection, so why should I do those meaningless things? Resurrection. Hearing Jin Daoliu's words, Bibi Dong sneered as if she heard a joke. Wu Tong has the means to resurrect, that's true, but don't forget, he is the one who destroyed the god realm and killed the angel god with his own hands. How could he help you resurrect the angel god? Don't bother with that. I will ask Wu Tong for the grand event in 3 days, Jin Daoliu said slowly as if he didn't hear Bibi Dong's ridicule. Although he didn't know the reason why Wu Tong destroyed the god realm, he still planned to ask Wu Tong to revive the angel god in 3 days. According to his calculations, with Jin Ringsu's relationship and the fact that the angel god is not an evil god, it is very likely that Wu Tong will agree to his request. However, nothing is absolute. After all, the secret that can make Wu Tong, a gentle person, destroy the god realm himself may not be as simple as Jin Daoliu thought. So Jin Daoliu didn't have much confidence in this. If his request really angered Wu Tong, then even if he was Jin Ringsu's grandfather, he probably wouldn't get much good. Even if he was beaten to death on the spot by Wu Tong, it was not impossible. After all, he couldn't expect a person who is angry to keep his sanity. The reason I came to you today is to ask you a favor. Facing the almost unknown future, Jin Daoliu spoke in a serious tone as if he was entrusting his son to someone else. After 3 days, I don't know if I can continue to live. If I die because of this, I hope you can treat Zuir well. You know, if I really die, she will only have you as a relative. Hearing Jin Daoliu's words that seemed like he was entrusting his son to someone else, Bibi Dong could not help but remain silent. Although she wished that all the angels would die, to be honest, Jin Daoliu's character was really beyond reproach. He was upright and kept his promises. He always kept his promises with Tang Chen, and did not vent his anger on the Haoshan sect after Jin Zunji's death. He could distinguish between good and evil, and right and wrong. He knew the truth about Jin Zunji's death, but did not hurt Bibi Dong, but supported her to become the Pope. He was willing to accept defeat and had a strong sense of responsibility. After losing the battle with Tang Chen, he gave up pursuing Poseidon, returned to the Spirit Hall, and fought for the cause of the Spirit Hall. It can be said that Jin Daoliu was a good man in the true sense with a spirit of chivalry. Perhaps the only stain in his life was that he gave birth to Jin Zunji, his son. After Jin Daoliu finished speaking, Bibi Dong did not speak. At this moment, the huge Spirit Hall seemed particularly quiet, filled with an inexplicable atmosphere. After a long time, Alice what a sin. Seeing that Bibi Dong still did not express her opinion, Jin Daoliu immediately understood Bibi Dong's attitude. He sighed and did not force her. Instead, he turned around and prepared to leave. After all, if Bibi Dong did not want to, he had no choice. After all, the angels were not right from the beginning to the end, so now he had no position to force Bibi Dong to protect Jin Ringsu. After consciously guessing Bibi Dong's thoughts, Jin Daoliu did not want to stay here any longer. He took a step and walked straight to the door. Just when Jin Daoliu was about to step out of the door, Bibi Dong finally spoke. Zuir, you don't have to worry about it. Although it was just a short sentence, the meaning contained in it was particularly clear. Therefore, after hearing this, Jin Daoliu paused, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and then took a step and left the Wuhan Hall. Only Bibi Dong was left sitting on the Pope's throne, looking at Jin Daoliu leaving. His eyes narrowed slightly, and I don't know what he was thinking. Xingluo Empire. Xingluo Palace. Alice, I don't know how long the meeting in 3 days will last. Weiss, during the time I'm away, you will be in charge of the regent. After hearing Wu Tong's notification, the Xingluo Emperor summoned Davis without hesitation and gave Davis instructions. Although Davis did not hear Wu Tong's message, as the Crown Prince of Xingluo, he naturally had the right to know, so he knew the major events that would happen in the Douluo realm in 3 days. Therefore, when facing the Xingluo Emperor's instructions, Davis directly responded, "Yes, Father. I will definitely live up to your trust." Xingluo Emperor nodded when he heard Davis' promise. Even though Davis still has some shortcomings in handling affairs after this period of training, he is not worried that Davis will mess things up with the help of those ministers. So, this time his departure will be regarded as a test for Davis. Weiss, let me see what kind of answer you will give me for this test. If you can prove that you are ready, then maybe I can let it go. After Wu Tong issued the notice, it was not just these few forces that responded. Other forces, the 4 elemental academies, the 4 lower sects, the Xiandao Empire, the Sea God Island, the Far North, the starred out Great Forest, the ocean, and even the Sun Moon Empire on another continent, the sects. All the forces in the Douluo realm, after Wu Tong's notice was issued, all began to make preparations. While other forces were making preparations, Wu Tong had already returned to the academy at this moment. After passing through the gate and entering the academy, Wu Tong was ready to walk towards his bedroom. After all, he had been busy for so long, so the next 3 days would naturally be time for rest. You know, combining work and rest is the kingly way. Chapter 511, The Law of Salted Fish Obstruction. Wu Tong version. However, just when Wu Tong was about to go back to rest, the law of salted fish obstruction that Pato had summarized for him when he was idle suddenly came true. Wu Tong saw with his own eyes that several figures not far away were moving rapidly towards him from far to near. The law of salted fish obstruction, Wu Tong version. This law was discovered by Pato after a long period of observation. Specifically, when Wu Tong wanted to rest, there would always be some inexplicable things or people who came to stop his leisure plan. Therefore, looking at the few people coming towards him, Wu Tong felt helpless in his heart. I just want to take a break. Why is it so difficult? Wu Tong boy, Captain, Mr. Wu Tong. 3 different voices came into his ears. Wu Tong looked at them carefully. Aren't these the 3 people he brought from the pirate world a few days ago? Garp and Hawkeye smiled. Looking at the 3 people coming towards him, although Wu Tong wanted to leave quickly, he thought about it and finally did not take action. Old Garp, Mr. Yixio, Mihawk, why are you 3 here? Looking at the 3 people who had walked up to him, Wu Tong forced a smile, suppressed the depression in his heart, and then asked. Ha. The 3 of us were originally planning to go to the library, but we just saw you, so we came to say hello to you. Garp came to Wu Tong, patted Wu Tong on the shoulder, and explained with a smile. Going to the library? It's okay for them, but you. Hearing Garp's words, Wu Tong looked at Garp speechlessly. If Hawkeye and Yixio went to the library, it would be quite normal, but why are you, a big and strong guy, making trouble? Don't you have a clear understanding of the position of your monkey family? In your monkey family, except for Long, the genetic mutant, who can read books? What's wrong with me? Although I don't really like reading, if it's for the future of the Navy, I can read it, okay? Seeing Wu Tong's weird eyes, Garp was like being insulted, and he shouted hurriedly. Although he went to the library just to act as a tool and send the scanned basic information to that guy Sengoku, you can't say whether he read it or not? Wu Tong just laughed at Garp's pale defense and didn't comment. Ignoring Garp who was already jumping up and down, Wu Tong looked at Yixio and Mihawk standing aside with an apologetic face. I'm sorry, there are too many things to do these days, and I almost forgot about you. I apologize to you two here, Mr. Wu Tong, you don't have to do this. Just do your thing and don't worry too much. It's the same if we visit by ourselves. Seeing this, Yixio quickly stretched out his hand with a respectful face to stop Wu Tong's behavior. After a few days of exploration and understanding, he has understood Wu Tong's identity and background, and his contribution to the world, selling soul guides, so that civilians have a certain voice when facing soul masters, promoting the theory of soul power talent, so that civilians can improve their innate soul power, so that they can change their own destiny, establishing students, preaching the world, and cultivating world powerhouses, suppressing the world's wars with one person's strength, so that the world maintains peace and dares not to make unrest again. Such practices almost perfectly match the justice in Yixio's heart. To put it bluntly, Wu Tong has already reached an unattainable position in Yixio's heart with the things he has done. Therefore, in Yixio's eyes, Wu Tong, who can seek welfare for the people and treat civilians as human beings, has completely become a leader he is willing to follow to the death. Therefore, when facing Wu Tong's apology, Yixio is naturally unwilling to accept it. Haha, is that so? I hope you don't blame me. Wu Tong, who is a little uncomfortable with Yixio's fiery gaze, laughed quickly and then changed the subject. By the way, old man Garp said you were going to the library. So why are you going to the library? Aren't the things in the library all in the Soul Network system? Before Yixio could reply, Garp spoke first. Nonsense, the Soul Network system costs money. The knowledge on the first floor of the library is free. Who would think of paying if they can get it for free? Garp said as if it was a matter of course. You know, as the saying goes, the food that doesn't cost money tastes the best. Garp has always experienced this because he did it this way, referring to snatching senbei from the warring states. But Garp obviously didn't see the painful masks on Yixio and Hawkeye's faces when he said this. Yixio Hawkeye, Garp, you sigh. Wu Tong didn't say anything about Garp's answer. He set the first floor of the library as a free floor in order to popularize the dissemination of knowledge. Anyway, the knowledge placed on the first floor is all outdated, so it's no big deal even if it is published. For the people of Douluo Continent, it is still quite advanced compared to the pirate world. After all, the first floor of the library contains the political system culture, civilization development process, low-level soul guide production, etc. of other worlds, which can be used as reference for the pirate world. That's why Wu Tong placed that knowledge in the free floor of the library. However, Wu Tong thought about it and realized that the knowledge on the first floor, for these people, is probably only useful for politics, art, soul guides and the like. Yixio and Garp may be interested in this knowledge, but Hawkeye should not be interested, right? Isn't he only interested in kendo? Then why did he follow these two people? Saying whatever comes to mind has always been Wu Tong's code of conduct. So after realizing this, Wu Tong immediately turned his head and looked at Hawkeye, who had been standing quietly aside, and asked curiously, I remember the free knowledge on the first floor. It seems that except for some knowledge about politics, art, soul guides and the like, the rest are basic knowledge, right? Those knowledge may be attractive to Yixio and Garp, but you should not be interested in it, right? Then why did you go to the library? Mihawk, Hawkeye was a little dazed when he was stared at by Wu Tong, but after Wu Tong asked the question, Hawkeye came back to his senses. Chapter 512, The New World Explored, The Unrivaled Tang Sect. Therefore, facing Wu Tong's question, Hawkeye did not hesitate and answered directly, the knowledge of other worlds can help me improve my swordsmanship. Besides, Senior Hua said that reading more books may help me improve my swordsmanship. Senior Hua. Upon hearing this, Wu Tong's expression suddenly became clear. So that's it, it was Hua who recommended it. That's not surprising. With Hua's martial arts realm, he is more than qualified to give Hawkeye a suggestion. But Wu Tong didn't expect that Hawkeye had only been here for a few days, and he had already become familiar with Hua. It was really shocking how fast he could communicate. Hawkeye, who had just arrived and felt Fu Hua's swordsmanship, went to challenge but was beaten. Yes, you are right. After understanding the truth, Wu Tong exchanged a few words with a few more people, and then estimated that the time was about up, so he said goodbye. Okay, let's talk about this today. Don't the three of you have to go to the library? It happens that I have something to do, otherwise we can talk again another day. Wait, just when Wu Tong was about to say goodbye, Garp suddenly called him. Hearing this, Wu Tong immediately turned his puzzled eyes to Garp. Anything else? Hearing this, Garp scratched his head a little embarrassedly, and asked with a smile, Haha, nothing, I just want to ask, when you first joined the group, when did you promise to help us change the world? Wait, Wu Tong smiled, thinking that Garp wanted to talk about something big, but it turned out to be just this. Haha, not far away, you should have heard it just now. 3 days later, I will hold a meeting in the small god realm. At that time, I will completely solve all the problems in the Douluo realm, turn the entire Douluo realm into a whole, and officially spread outward from then on. That means that after the meeting in 3 days, you can help us. Yixio heard the meaning of Wu Tong's words and asked hurriedly. Wu Tong nodded, then shook his head. The procedure is correct, but the order is a bit wrong. After the meeting, we should start with the other 2 small worlds. After we finish those 2 worlds, it will be your world's turn. The 2 small worlds Wu Tong mentioned, one of them is naturally the world of Demon Slayer, which needs no further explanation. As for the other world he mentioned besides the pirate world, it was a new world that Wu Tong discovered some time ago when he released the exploration restrictions of the Void Gate, and the Void Gate explored the surrounding world at full power. As for that world, Wu Tong is not unfamiliar with it. It should be said that anyone in the Douluo realm will not feel unfamiliar, because that world is exactly the world after 10,000 years of Douluo realm, which is the so-called world of Peerless Tang Sect. It was only a few days after the restrictions were lifted, and the Void Gate explored a new world, which shocked Wu Tong. I thought that after the restrictions were lifted, the Void Gate would be directly against the sky. After all, you know, if you want to explore a new world in the endless void, the time required is almost calculated in years. After all, the endless void is vast and boundless, and it is not an easy task to find a new world. Therefore, when Wu Tong knew that the Void Gate found a new world so quickly, the shock in his heart can be imagined. However, when Wu Tong found out what kind of world this world is, the shock disappeared without a trace. Peerless Tang Sect. Not only does it have such a similar structure and history to the Douluo world, but it can also have the practice method of the Douluo world. This shows that this world is not a parallel world of the Douluo world, but because this world is too close to the Douluo world, it has gradually developed into a similar world to the Douluo world. But in short, after learning that the new world he was exploring was the world of Peerless Tangman, Wu Tong was still very happy. After all, No matter what, the emergence of this world can bring great benefits to the development of Douluo realm. For example, first, it unites people's hearts. Compared with a group formed by force, Wu Tong still hopes that they can unite themselves. Originally, Wu Tong thought that this result might not be officially achieved until many years later. But after seeing the world of peerless Tangmen, Wu Tong felt that it was stable immediately. After all, after learning about Tang San's stupid operations, it is difficult for people in Douluo realm to be united. Second, the world fusion is accelerated, compared with a world with completely different laws, peerless Tangmen, a world that is almost identical in terms of cultivation system and historical background, merges with Douluo realm more quickly. Of course, this is just to save some time. It doesn't matter whether the world merges quickly or not. After all, the result of the fusion of different worlds is a matter of sooner or later. As for the third one, it is naturally that Wu Tong can indulge in the addiction of destroying the God realm again. After all, the God realm, especially the God realm after Tang San, naturally needs to be destroyed. This is almost beyond doubt. Of course, the benefits that unrivaled Tang sect can bring to Wu Tong are far more than these. But these are all later. Now let's get the topic back on track. After getting an accurate answer from Wu Tong, Yixio was relieved. However, after hearing this, Garp asked carelessly, "Why does it take 2 worlds before it's our world's turn? Can't it be faster?" Listening to Garp's question, Wu Tong shook his head and smiled bitterly. "There's nothing we can do about it. The current strength of the Douluo realm is generally not as strong as your world. According to my estimation, only after experiencing 2 worlds can we obtain power comparable to or even surpass your world." After saying that, Wu Tong changed the subject and turned his head to comfort. "But you don't have to worry, it won't take long. It's just 2 small worlds. It's estimated that 2 or 3 months will be the most. Besides, doesn't your world also need some time to lay out? Why rush?" "That's true." After hearing Wu Tong's comfort, Yixio nodded directly. "They really need some time to deal with the layout of the world's big changes. And this time is not too long, so there is no problem. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 513 Return, Apology. After informing the 3 of the specific time of assistance they were expecting, Wu Tong said goodbye to them. After saying goodbye to the 3, Wu Tong no longer planned to walk back slowly. After all, if he continued to walk, if he was stopped by someone again, Wu Tong would really want to get mad. So, in order to avoid this problem, Wu Tong directly crossed the space and went to his residence. 1 step out, the distance in space was as if it were a trivial matter. Wu Tong stepped on the space node that he could see at a glance, and easily used the node to complete the teleportation process from the school gate to the treehouse. After returning to the house, Wu Tong went to the bathroom, washed up a little, changed into comfortable pajamas, and then came to the rooftop on the 10th floor. After arriving at the rooftop, Wu Tong did not stop, but went straight to the recliner made of solar condensing wood, stretched his waist, and then laid down leisurely. After lying on the recliner, Wu Tong thought for a moment, then lit a stove of incense and boiled a pot of hot water on the small table beside him. Then he crossed his legs leisurely and enjoyed the scenery of the sky. At this moment, it was afternoon. On the blue sky, white clouds were leisurely, gathering or dispersing, in various forms, outlining an unpredictable scene, which was particularly melodious. It must be said that this scene of the sky and clouds can only be seen in this world that has not been polluted by industry. If the world Wu Tong is in now is not Douluo Continent, but his hometown Earth, it would be a luxury to see such a beautiful sky. Retracting his thoughts, Wu Tong lay on the recliner, his eyes a little scattered, looking at the blue sky. The soft breeze brushed across his face, and the beautiful scenery was in full view. At this moment, Wu Tong's fatigue seemed to be washed away by the scenery that looked like a painting. There was no trace of mixed thoughts in his heart, and only this beautiful scenery remained in his eyes. However, no matter how beautiful the scenery is, there will be a time when you get tired of it. Therefore, a proper diversion of attention can keep this beautiful scenery for a longer time. For this reason, Wu Tong closed his eyes and began to take a nap after appreciating the scenery for a while. Just when Wu Tong closed his eyes and took a nap, He was about to fall asleep. A pair of jade hands had quietly covered his eyes. Then came a female voice that deliberately changed its tone. "Guess who I am?" Hearing this voice, Wu Tong, who was about to fall asleep, also became alert. Wu Tong did not use his mental power to detect the woman who suddenly appeared behind him, but he had some guesses in his heart. After all, although there are many people who can appear here, there is only one person who appears here at this time and has such leisure. Wrong, stop messing around. Wu Tong first revealed the identity of the girl behind him, and then smiled and said, "Don't you have classes today? Why are you here suddenly?" After Ning Rongrong's identity was exposed by Wu Tong, she also put down the hand that was blocking Wu Tong's eyes, and hugged Wu Tong's neck instead, rubbed her face against Wu Tong's face, and then smiled and said, "I have finished my classes today in the morning, and now it's free time." The teaching system of the academy adopts the education model of the university. Fixed classes are taught at fixed times. If students are interested in classes, they can also go to the classroom to audit. As for the rest of the time, students can use it freely, whether it is studying, practicing, or playing, the academy will not care. To borrow a sentence from teacher Wu Tong in the previous life, that is, they learn for themselves, not for the academy. So as long as the students do not do things that violate school rules during get out of class, the academy will never interfere too much with the students' choices. And for this teaching method, the students can also be said to be very satisfied, whether they are civilians or nobles. Noble students can use this free time to eat, drink and have fun with their friends. Common students can have more time to practice hard. This relaxed teaching method, where everyone can use their free time to do what they want, will naturally be sought after by students. As for why I came here, it's because I come here every day. Sorry, I have neglected you during this period. Hearing Ning Rongrong's words, Wu Tong immediately realized that after he accepted Ning Rongrong some time ago, something happened suddenly and he threw her into the bedroom. So Wu Tong immediately felt guilty and decided to apologize. But before Wu Tong finished his apology, Ning Rongrong stretched out a finger and pressed it on Wu Tong's lips, manually stopping Wu Tong from speaking. "Don't apologize, brother Wu Tong. Rongrong knows that you are usually very busy, and Rongrong has been mentally prepared for this kind of thing. Moreover, Rongrong knows that if it is not an important matter, brother Wu Tong will not forget Rongrong, so brother Wu Tong, you don't have to be so polite to Rongrong." Listening to Ning Rongrong's considerate answer, Wu Tong's heart suddenly rose with a strong sense of guilt and touching. So Wu Tong also reached out directly, and with a backhand, he took Ning Rongrong behind him and directly took her into his arms. Then, Wu Tong looked at the girl in his arms, who had always been very gentle and considerate to him, and his heart of pity suddenly surged. After kissing Ning Rongrong's forehead with a hint of pampering, Wu Tong said in a gentle tone, "Thank you for your understanding, Miss Rongrong, you are so considerate." After Ning Rongrong was hugged by Wu Tong, she buried her head in Wu Tong's chest. After hearing Wu Tong's praise, Ning Rongrong immediately showed a sweet smile. "Brother Wu Tong, don't be so polite. This is all Rongrong's own will. For you, Rongrong is willing to wait forever." "Haha, you are willing? That's not possible, because I can't bear to let my Rongrong wait like this." Hearing Ning Rongrong's words, Wu Tong felt warm in his heart, and then smiled. "Don't worry, after the meeting in 3 days, there won't be much for me to do next. I will have plenty of time to accompany you in the future." 3 days later, meeting. Chapter 514 Explanation, Chen Yuxian Ti. Hearing Wu Tong's words, Ning Rongrong immediately looked at Wu Tong with curiosity, and was confused. 3 days later, a meeting? Is it a meeting of the college? Could it be that the college is going to make another big move? But I haven't heard any rumors about it. But if it's not a meeting of the college, where else could it be a meeting? Oh, headache. Haha. Looking at Ning Rongrong's confused and thoughtful look, Wu Tong laughed. Then, Wu Tong sat up with Ning Rongrong in his arms, picked up the kettle that had been boiled on the side, and poured the boiling water into the teapot on the side. Then, he put a few pieces of Liu fairy tea, Chenhu fairy tea, which he bought from Zhongli, into the teapot. Chenhu fairy tea is a kind of tea on the continent of Tibet, grown in the warm and humid place of Chenhu Valley. After thousands of years of careful selection and cultivation, the tea is now fragrant and long-lasting. Even if it is several streets away, you can still smell the refreshing fragrance. It is a rare good tea produced in Liu. As a tea lover, Wu Tong would not let go of such a treasure, So after paying some money, Wu Tong got some Shenai Yiming from Zhongli. After doing all this, Wu Tong quietly waited for the pot of tea while explaining to Ning Rongrong what he had just said. The dividing line between explaining and waiting for tea time flies. So, in Wu Tong's explanation, time passed quickly. Not long after, as the refreshing tea fragrance of Shenai Yiming gradually rose, Wu Tong's explanation was finally finished. After that, Wu Tong ignored Ning Rongrong, who was already stunned, and reached out to hold the brewed teapot, pouring a cup of tea for himself and Ning Rongrong respectively. When Wu Tong finished all this, Ning Rongrong finally came back to her senses. Brother Wu Tong, do you mean to say that you plan to gather and integrate the forces of Douluo Continent, let those strong people on the continent unite to face the outside world, and transfer the contradictions to other worlds? Ning Rongrong looked at Wu Tong in surprise, her tone full of shock. Since her martial soul evolved, Ning Rongrong has been trained as the heir of the 9 treasures glazed sect. Therefore, after such a long period of study and training, Ning Rongrong is no longer the willful and capricious little witch. Now she is a qualified heir of the 9 treasures glazed sect, with enough skills and matching thinking. Therefore, Ning Rongrong can fully understand what Wu Tong said. It is precisely because of this that Ning Rongrong was so shocked, because she knew very well that if the reform was carried out according to Wu Tong's ideas, how much impact it would have on the situation of Douluo Continent. Not to mention, these impacts are all positive impacts with only benefits and no disadvantages. Yet, that's right, hearing Ning Rongrong's incredulous tone, Wu Tong picked up the teacup in front of him, took a sip, moistened his dry throat, and then slowly nodded. After getting Wu Tong's confirmation, Ning Rongrong immediately showed an admiring expression and said to Wu Tong, "Wow, brother Wu Tong, I didn't expect you to have such great ambitions. I admire you so much, little fangirl Ning Rongrong, come on." Wu Tong, who was stared at by Ning Rongrong's fanatical fan, was secretly happy in his heart. After all, what can be more exciting than a beautiful woman looking at you with admiration? Haha, girl. Your performance is a bit too exaggerated. Wu Tong was in a good mood and tapped Ning Rongrong's forehead with his index finger. Afterwards, Wu Tong picked up the tea on the table, handed it to Ning Rongrong, and said with a smile, "By the way, we have been chatting for such a long time, Rongrong, you should be thirsty, right? Come and try the tea I made." "Yeah, I am a little thirsty, thank you, brother Wu Tong." Ning Rongrong was not polite, and directly took the tea handed over by Wu Tong and drank it all, and then her eyes suddenly lit up. "Huh? This tea is not bitter, and it tastes a bit good?" Her father Ning Fengzi is a tea lover, so when Ning Rongrong was a child, she tasted the tea out of curiosity, and immediately frowned because of the bitterness. Therefore, in Ning Rongrong's cognition, tea is not very delicious, so she does not like tea as a drink. As for why Wu Tong handed over the tea, she drank it directly. Nonsense, of course it is because this tea, but it was handed to her by her beloved. That's why Ning Rongrong drank the tea in one gulp. She thought it would taste bitter again, but she didn't expect that the tea tasted quite good. Then, Ning Rongrong, who had tasted the sweetness, immediately began to pour tea for herself like a little hamster stealing nuts. Wu Tong looked at Ning Rongrong's actions and didn't stop her. He just gently touched her little head. After pouring the tea, Ning Rongrong remembered what she had done just now. Her little face suddenly blushed, and she looked at Wu Tong shyly. "Okay, don't worry about it. I don't care about this." Wu Tong rubbed Ning Rongrong's hair and said generously, "Hey, thank you, brother Wu Tong." Hearing this, Ning Rongrong smiled and then drank the tea without hesitation. Wu Tong didn't care about her actions either. He just hugged her quietly and drank tea with Ning Rongrong. In this way, the two beautiful women who looked like a perfect match of a golden boy and a jade girl chatted leisurely while sipping tea comfortably. They looked comfortable and happy. In this leisure, time unknowingly came to the evening. "Brother Wu Tong, it's a bit cold, how about?" At this moment, Ning Rongrong, who was happily talking to Wu Tong, looked at the gradually darkening sky, her eyes turned, and then she looked at Wu Tong with a sharp gaze. As the saying goes, when you are full and warm, you will think of lust. Although the two of them did not eat, as a girl who had just entered the ranks of women, Ning Rongrong was still obsessed with that kind of happiness. Therefore, in this situation where the time, place and people were all there, Ning Rongrong directly made up her mind. But no matter what, Ning Rongrong was a girl, so when she made this invitation, her cheeks were red. And Wu Tong looked at the beautiful scene, and his heart was also warm. He directly hugged Ning Rongrong in his arms and walked quickly to the bedroom. Chapter 515. Time flies, and the blink of an eye is like a shuttle. Time flies, and before you know it, it has come to the third day that Wu Tong had said at the beginning. This morning, the weather was fine and the sky was cloudless. Wu Tong opened his eyes from the quilt and saw Ning Rongrong in front of him, who was also looking at him with his eyes open. Good morning, brother Wu Tong. Seeing Wu Tong wake up, Ning Rongrong's big watery eyes curved into a pair of crescents, and she looked very happy. After the wind and rain of the past few days, Ning Rongrong's temperament has become more beautiful and charming like a flower washed by rain. So Ning Rongrong's smile was like a flower that bloomed again after going through wind and rain, and inadvertently revealed infinite charm. This charming look, which was completely different from her original immature appearance, made Wu Tong's heart rise directly with a flame. Good morning, Rongrong. So, after saying good morning to Ning Rongrong, Wu Tong, driven by his heart, kissed Ning Rongrong's red lips directly. Ning Rongrong was stunned by Wu Tong's sudden kiss, and after reacting, her heart trembled, and her face could not help but be covered with an intoxicating blush. The appearance of this blush not only did not destroy Ning Rongrong's temperament, but made her look more beautiful and attractive. So Wu Tong kissed her more deeply and more obsessed. At the same time, his hands also moved restlessly. Ning Rongrong was also wrapped up in Wu Tong's tenderness and gradually indulged in it. Just as the atmosphere gradually became charming, the two became more and more involved, ready to go to Wushan together. Ning Rongrong's body, however, sent her a message that she was overwhelmed. Feeling the discomfort of her body, Ning Rongrong quickly raised her hand and grabbed Wu Tong's hand to stop Wu Tong's action. Feeling Ning Rongrong's action, Wu Tong also stopped directly, and was about to take the next step. Although he was a little angry now, he was not the kind of person who didn't care about other people's lives and only cared about his own pleasure. Wu Tong still cared about his wife. Therefore, after feeling Ning Rongrong's actions, although Wu Tong was a little puzzled, he still stopped his actions and asked, "What's wrong?" Rongrong. After hearing Wu Tong's question, Ning Rongrong immediately showed an apologetic expression and begged for mercy. Sorry, brother Wu Tong. Rongrong doesn't want to stop either, but brother Wu Tong, you also know how powerful you are. These few days, Rongrong really can't stand it, so, speaking of this, Ning Rongrong immediately showed an apologetic smile. It's okay. After being reminded by Ning Rongrong, Wu Tong finally realized, in the final analysis, Ning Rongrong is just an auxiliary spirit master. Whether it is her strength or her physical fitness, she is not as good as himself. Therefore, Ning Rongrong can persist for such a long time under his hands, which can be said to be an extraordinary performance. Then what reason do I have to express dissatisfaction with Ning Rongrong? Thinking of this, Wu Tong looked at Ning Rongrong and said with a wry smile, "It's okay, Rongrong, I made a mistake. I didn't consider your physical condition. You just need to have a good rest next time. What about you, brother Wu Tong?" Ning Rongrong's heart was warmed when she heard Wu Tong's words. She didn't expect Wu Tong to care about her so much. However, after feeling the temperature and hardness of the handle in her hand, Ning Rongrong's heart tightened immediately, and then she couldn't help but ask, "Me? I just bear it." Wu Tong waved his hand indifferently. How can this be? Besides, Rongrong can't bear to let brother Wu Tong bear it like this. Ning Rongrong heard Wu Tong's words and shook her head directly to reject Wu Tong's plan. She had heard that if you keep holding back, it will have an impact on your body, so she didn't want Wu Tong to hold back. So, Ning Rongrong looked at the anger in Wu Tong's eyes, her eyes turned, and she began to think about countermeasures. After a moment, Ning Rongrong seemed to remember something, and suddenly a bold idea popped up in her mind. Then, Wu Tong saw Ning Rongrong suddenly look up and smile brightly at herself. Looking at Ning Rongrong's actions, Wu Tong suddenly had a bold guess in his mind. At this moment, Wu Tong only had one thought in his mind, that is, this life is worth it. After the rain, Wu Tong hugged Ning Rongrong and patted her back with a gentle face. "You've worked so hard. Rongrong, it doesn't matter, this is my own decision. As long as you are satisfied, brother Wu Tong." Ning Rongrong's face once again put on a smile that Wu Tong was very familiar with. Hearing this, Wu Tong did not say anything, but smiled slightly. Then he hugged the girl in front of him, who had liked him since childhood and had always liked him, tightly into his arms, his heart full of tenderness. Ning Rongrong, who was embraced by Wu Tong, felt Wu Tong's broad chest and did not refuse. She leaned on him directly and indulged in it. The two hugged each other and were tender for a while. Ning Rongrong suddenly seemed to remember something, and hurriedly looked up at Wu Tong, and asked about the business with a nervous face. By the way, brother Wu Tong, today seems to be the third day you mentioned at the beginning. Didn't you say that you would gather those people today to go to the small god realm to discuss matters together? It's almost noon now. Will it be too late? Looking at Ning Rongrong's anxious look, Wu Tong smiled first, let her calm down first, and then said. Chapter 516, Talented Scholar and Beautiful Lady. Nothing, don't worry, I said a few days ago that the meeting would be held today, but I didn't say when it would start today, so let alone it's noon now, even if it's afternoon or evening, it's no big deal, don't worry about it, that's good, brother Wu Tong, as long as you're not late. After hearing Wu Tong's explanation, Ning Rongrong was relieved immediately. She was afraid that Wu Tong would miss the time because of her. If that was the case, she would regret it too late. Then, Ning Rongrong came to her senses and looked at the lazy Wu Tong and said, but brother Wu Tong, this matter should be done sooner rather than later. If it can be done as soon as possible, do it as soon as possible. It's not a solution to let those people wait all the time. Yeah, I know. Wu Tong nodded and did not refute Ning Rongrong's words. After all, she was doing it for her own good. Then, Wu Tong looked at Ning Rongrong in his arms and suddenly invited her. By the way, Rongrong, do you want to go with me to the meeting later? Can I go with you too? Ning Rongrong's eyes lit up when she heard Wu Tong's invitation. If she said she was not interested in this meeting, she would be lying. After all, you have to know that this small god realm council was organized by Wu Tong, a grand meeting that was enough to change the world pattern and go down in the history of Douluo. How could she not be interested in such a meeting that could be regarded as a major event in the history of Douluo realm? But Ning Rongrong didn't want to cause trouble for Wu Tong, so she never proposed the idea of going with Wu Tong. But what she didn't expect was that when you plant flowers intentionally, they don't bloom, but when you plant willows unintentionally, they grow into shade. Ning Rongrong originally thought that she was going to miss this grand meeting, but Wu Tong's words immediately made her understand what a sudden turn of events meant. Wu Tong nodded and said as if asking why, of course. You should know that you are my person. What's wrong with you attending this meeting with me? I'm the organizer of a meeting. If I can't bring a few people with me, then wouldn't my role as organizer be in vain? Besides, do they have the right to reject me? Whether in terms of strength or contribution to the Douluo realm, they don't seem to be qualified to tell me what to do. If you want to go, I'll take you there later. If you don't want to go. Before Wu Tong finished speaking, he was interrupted by Ning Rongrong with an excited look on his face. Since that's possible, then I'll go. Seeing this, Wu Tong immediately understood Ning Rongrong's intention, so he nodded and agreed to Ning Rongrong's attendance. Okay. Since you want to go, then come with me later. What do you mean by later? Let's set off quickly. Brother Wu Tong, I can't wait. Hearing Wu Tong's words, Ning Rongrong was a little unhappy. She directly held Wu Tong's hand, threw it aside, and prepared to turn over and get out of bed, and then pulled Wu Tong together to get up and wash. After knowing that she could go to the small divine world to attend the meeting, Ning Rongrong was already a little impatient, and she was not willing to let Wu Tong continue to be lazy. I say, is it necessary to be so anxious? Rongrong, don't we still have plenty of time? Compared with Ning Rongrong's urgency, Wu Tong was a little helpless. Is he shooting himself in the foot? A casual inquiry actually caused him to work ahead of time? However, the anxious Ning Rongrong ignored Wu Tong's helplessness, endured the discomfort of her body, and turned over and got out of bed. 9 Treasures Glazed Tower. 9 treasures are famous for 6 days of healing. Ning Rongrong first summoned the 9 Treasures Glazed Tower martial spirit and gave herself a full body treatment. It must be said that the auxiliary spirit master is good in this respect. He can heal himself when he is injured. It is so convenient. After the discomfort in his body disappeared, Ning Rongrong turned around, stretched out her hand and grabbed Wu Tong's arm, and prepared to pull him up to work. Hurry up and get up. Brother Wu Tong. Seeing this, Wu Tong, who was pulled hard by Ning Rongrong, could only sigh helplessly. Okay, I will get up by myself, don't pull me. After saying that, Wu Tong fell to the edge of the bed, and gently rolled with the help of the connecting line between the edge of the bed and the bed, and then with the help of this inertia, he turned over and got out of bed smoothly. After leaving his comfortable big bed, Wu Tong looked unhappy, stretched out his hand on Ning Rongrong's head, and rubbed it hard a few times to avenge himself for being forced to work. Although he couldn't beat or scold Ning Rongrong, it was harmless to play a little prank. So, after Wu Tong had rubbed Ning Rongrong's smooth hair into a mess, he stopped with satisfaction. The result of the revenge was perfect and comfortable. It was awesome. Then, Wu Tong took Ning Rongrong to the bathroom and started to wash up under Ning Rongrong's resentful eyes. A quarter of an hour later, it was exactly noon. At this moment, Wu Tong and Ning Rongrong also came out of the bathroom after washing up and changing clothes. Because they were about to attend the meeting of the small god realm, the clothes they wore this time looked quite formal. Wu Tong wore a black and white ink-style robe, a Tai Chi yin-yang fish jade pendant on his waist, a beautiful hairpin made of peach wood to fix his hair on his head, and a black mahogany folding fan with a golden mantra carved on the handle in his hand. With a jade-like face, handsome and unrestrained face, gentle and elegant, pure and natural temperament, coupled with a simple and generous outfit, Wu Tong at this moment looks like the legendary immortal who descended to the world, handsome and extraordinary. Compared with Wu Tong's decoration, Ning Rongrong's dress is a little simpler. She wore a light blue dress, with a sect jade card tied around her waist, representing the identity of a disciple of the Nine Treasures glazed sect, a panda headband given by Wu Tong on her head, and her hands were around Wu Tong's arms. The beauty is stunning, the appearance is fresh and pleasant, but with a mature temperament, coupled with a vague and ambiguous smile, always gives people a special mysterious feeling. But overall, it is also a beautiful scene of national beauty and beauty. Chapter 517, Jianmu Road. When the two stood together, they immediately gave people a feeling of a perfect match made in heaven. It seems to be true? After a moment, Wu Tong looked at Ning Rongrong, who was still hugging her arms and standing in front of the mirror, and said helplessly, "Is it done? Rongrong. It's been so long." While Wu Tong felt helpless, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. She is indeed a woman. She keeps looking in the mirror. It's been almost half an hour, right? I really don't understand, what's so good about this mirror? Wu Tong never thought that Ning Rongrong would have such a conceited personality. I haven't heard of it before. Sure enough, women are really hard to understand. Well, it's done, brother Wu Tong. Hearing Wu Tong's words, Ning Rongrong, who was standing in front of the mirror, admiring her and Wu Tong's outfits, paused and her face turned red. Then she quickly stopped what she was doing and replied while holding Wu Tong's arm. However, Wu Tong noticed something wrong with the fingers that were holding his arm. The whitened fingers, which were due to excessive force, showed Ning Rongrong's current mood, which was not as calm as she appeared on the surface. And the fact was just as Wu Tong guessed. At this moment, Ning Rongrong was screaming madly in her heart, just as he thought, "Ah! How embarrassing! How could I forget that I'm not alone today? Why did I start to be conceited again without checking? It must be because brother Wu Tong dressed too handsomely, which made me feel so emotional. Yes, it must be like this." Wu Tong didn't care about the little drama that was going on in Ning Rongrong's heart, and he didn't know that Ning Rongrong pushed all the faults that caused her embarrassment onto himself. Of course, even if he knew, Wu Tong probably wouldn't care. After all, it was just a small matter. However, after hearing Ning Rongrong say that she was ready, Wu Tong was ready to set off. When building the small world of gods, although Wu Tong drew on the Taoist 36 heavens and the structure of the heaven in the prehistoric novel, he did not copy all those things. After all, it is not realistic to copy all those things. If they really move them all, not to mention other things, the travel problem alone is a big difficulty. You know, in the heaven of the prehistoric world, even the weakest person is an immortal, and they all have the terrifying power to travel through the void and make the world change color. These strong people can rely on their own strength to break through the obstacles of heaven and earth and reach the heaven by themselves. But the Douluo world is different. With the strength of those people in the Douluo world, there is no need to compare with those immortals in the prehistoric world. After all, the strongest people in the Douluo world are probably those demigods and extreme Douluos. Although the little god realm and the Douluo realm can be called the same world now, they are not in the same dimension. If the title Douluo of the Douluo realm were to find it by themselves, they would probably die before they could touch the entrance to the god realm in another dimension. Moreover, Wu Tong refined the little god realm only to restrain the strong, not simply to separate the gods and humans and divide the two realms, so it is still necessary for the little god realm and the Douluo realm to communicate. Therefore, in order to facilitate the communication between the little god realm and the mortal world in the future, Tong also refined some channels to communicate between the two realms and facilitate the communication between the two realms when building the little god realm, in order to solve the travel problem between the god realm and the human world. And the prop that connects the two realms is a new type of rainbow bridge that Tong built based on the concept and principle of the rainbow bridge in Asgard that can connect the 9 realms in Marvel movies and TV series, Jianmu Road. Jianmu to the sky. Classic of mountains and seas, the classic of seas says, Jianmu, 100 feet high, has no branches, has 9 twigs, and 9 thorns under it. Its fruit is like hemp, and its leaves are like awns. It was made by the Yellow Emperor. The sacred tree described in this article is the Jianmu that only exists in myths and legends. Jianmu is the name of a legendary tree. It grows between heaven and earth, is 100 feet high, and is the place where all gods go to heaven. In mythology, Jianmu has always been a bridge connecting heaven and earth, allowing the heaven and the human world to communicate with each other. It is a veritable channel connecting heaven and earth. Of course, the Jianmu road refined by Tong is not a real Jianmu that connects heaven and earth. And with his current strength, he can't make that kind of sacred tree that connects heaven and earth. This so-called Jianmu Road is actually just a new type of rainbow bridge that spreads out from the gate of the god realm and connects the Douluo realm and the subordinate worlds of the Douluo realm. The reason why Tong called it Jianmu Road is to make this new type of rainbow bridge more in line with the mythological characteristics of the small god realm. After all, the structure of the small divine world adopts the design of the 36 heavens of Taoism. The channel connecting heaven and earth can't be named Rainbow Bridge in Western mythology, right? This is really a bit confusing. Therefore, for the sake of the overall harmony of the divine world, Tong changed the name of this new Rainbow Bridge to a new name adapted from the mythical Jianmu, Jianmu Road. In addition, naming this road Jianmu Road also implies Tong's ambition and vision to completely transform the Douluo world into a mythical world, a powerful world. Ahem, I've gone a little far, let's get back to the topic. Jianmu Road. Although it sounds a little inconspicuous, its power is indeed extraordinary. It only took a moment to receive Tong and Ningrongrong, who were already prepared in the academy, into the divine world. Douluo small divine world. Douluo 36 heavens. First heaven and earth. Wow, so fast, have we already appeared in the god realm? This thing called Jianmu Road is really fast. Ningrongrong felt that she appeared in front of this magnificent palace with golden and jadeite carvings and painted buildings in the blink of an eye. The speed was so fast that she couldn't react at all. Yes, we have arrived in the god realm. Tong, who was standing next to her, first answered Ningrongrong's question, and then smiled and explained, as for the speed, I can only say it's okay. Chapter 518, Soul Guidance Idiot Ningrongrong. After all, this Jianmu Road is just a guide tool for the early transition. The reason why you think it is fast is because you are too weak now. When you become stronger in the future, you can travel between the worlds of gods and humans by yourself. At that time, you will not be able to appreciate the speed of this thing. Ningrongrong nodded immediately after hearing this. This makes sense. If she is really as strong as Tong, she probably won't think much of the Jianmu Road. After all, Tong is right. This so-called Jianmu Road is just a tool after all. How can a mere dead thing compare to the growing self? After thinking it through, Ningrongrong no longer paid attention to this Jianmu Road. After all, the side just now was just a whim of hers. Compared to the fast-moving guide, what Ningrongrong is more concerned about now is the magnificent white jade palace in front of her, which is surrounded by white clouds and mist and is so beautiful that it makes people suffocate. This palace looks so beautiful, brother Tong. Are these all the buildings you conceived? Ningrongrong looked at the magnificent and beautiful palace in front of her, which was looming in the clouds and mist, and then looked at other buildings not far away, and couldn't help but sigh in admiration. You know, their Jiubaoliuli sect is the richest sect on Douluo Continent, and their sect hall can be called extremely luxurious. But if you compare the sect hall of your family with a hall in front of you, it is just like the difference between a firefly and a bright moon, which is not even comparable to this hall. This is not something I came up with. This is the wisdom of the ancients in another world. They sketched out this scene. I just turned those fantasies into reality. Wu Tong was very pleased with Ning Rongrong's sigh. After all, this was praising the wisdom of his ancestors. However, Wu Tong did not take credit for Ning Rongrong's statement. After all, even if a person is of low quality, he will not attribute the fruits of his ancestors' labor to himself. Others would not do this, and Wu Tong would naturally not do it. So that's it. Hearing this, Ning Rongrong nodded thoughtfully, and then smiled and said, I didn't expect those ancients to have such wisdom and be able to imagine such a magnificent building. Human wisdom cannot be divided by era. Hearing Ning Rongrong's words, Wu Tong looked dazed, as if he remembered the various schools of thought in the Warring States period and the sages in history, and couldn't help but sighed. Afterwards, Wu Tong looked at Ning Rongrong and smiled. By the way, Rongrong, do you want to go inside and take a look? Of course. Hearing Wu Tong's question, Ning Rongrong didn't bother to ask what Wu Tong meant, and answered with excitement. She was also very curious. What was the inside of such a magnificent hall like? Then let's go. After getting the response, Wu Tong stretched out his hand to hold Ning Rongrong's slender waist and hugged her in his arms. Then he hugged Ning Rongrong and walked towards the door of the hall. Ning Rongrong didn't care about Wu Tong's behavior. After all, she was Wu Tong's, so what was wrong with letting him hug her again? Besides, it's not like they haven't hugged each other before. So the two of them snuggled up and walked towards the door together. When the two arrived in front of the door of the hall seemed to sense someone coming and opened the door by itself. Seeing this scene, Ning Rongrong was immediately very curious, so she looked at Wu Tong and asked, What's going on? Is there anyone inside? Wu Tong explained, No one, it's just an automatic sensing door, similar to a soul guide. Oh, hearing this, Ning Rongrong was no longer interested. Soul guides, such complicated things, are not her cup of tea. When Ning Rongrong was a child, she learned how to make soul guides from Wu Tong, but maybe because she didn't have a good talent for soul guides, Ning Rongrong couldn't learn it no matter how hard she tried, and even cried several times because of this. The two pillars of the Seven Treasures glazed sect thought that Wu Tong was bullying their little princess, and they repeatedly clamored to teach Wu Tong a lesson. But later, this misunderstanding was resolved. For this reason, Ning Rongrong was teased by Ning Fengzi for a long time. Since then, Ning Rongrong knew that her talent for soul guides was not good, and she never mentioned soul guides in front of Wu Tong again. Therefore, after hearing that this door was related to the soul guide, Ning Rongrong immediately gave up further investigation. After all, people always have to accept their imperfections. Besides, soul guides are just for use. Why do we have to understand the principle? Isn't that just asking for trouble? Wu Tong looked at Ning Rongrong's face that instantly regained its calmness, and understood her thoughts. However, Wu Tong remembered the way Ning Rongrong was upset and cried when she was learning soul guides when she was a child, and couldn't help but have the idea of teasing Ning Rongrong. So Wu Tong looked at Ning Rongrong's calm face, suppressed his smile, and asked, Why, don't you want to learn more about the operating principle of this automatic induction door? Ning Rongrong heard what Wu Tong was thinking, so Ning Rongrong was unceremoniously and directly gave Wu Tong a pair of pure 100% white eyes to express her dissatisfaction. Haha, seeing this, Wu Tong was not annoyed, but just laughed. Okay, let's go. Ning Rongrong blushed as she stopped Wu Tong from laughing, and then pulled Wu Tong towards the door. Entering the gate and crossing the screen wall. The scene in the hall was in full view, and everything was in sight. However, after seeing the layout of the hall, Ning Rongrong's originally expectant eyes suddenly lost their luster, and her eyes were full of confusion and helplessness. It was because the layout of the hall made Ning Rongrong very familiar. Because when she was in class in the college, she often saw classrooms with this layout. The tiered seats like a movie theater, the podium in the front, the white jade backboard on the podium, and the small podium in the corner. Everything was so familiar. Damn. How could this not be familiar? Isn't this a tiered classroom? Seeing this scene, Ning Rongrong's heart immediately started to complain crazily. Chapter 519, I am planning in Douluo? Outline for the future development of Douluo world. No, brother Wu Tong, is it normal that your white jade palace, which looks like a fairy and magnificent, has a layout like a lecture hall? The interior decoration and the exterior structure are two completely different things. Even if you put a big round table inside and put a bunch of chairs on it for decoration, it would be better than the current situation, right? The rituals and music are broken. This is simply the rituals and music are broken. Although Wu Tong has the ability to read minds, he will not use this ability on his own people, so he did not hear Ningrongrong's complaints. Although he did not hear it, Wu Tong still saw some clues from Ningrongrong's expression. But Wu Tong did not care too much about it. Because when he built this lecture hall, he had already anticipated that this situation would occur. After all, the appearance of the White Jade Palace and the layout of the lecture hall do seem to be very disconnected. It is not incomprehensible to be complained about. After shaking his head and throwing away the distracting thoughts, Wu Tong no longer paid attention to Ningrongrong's expression, but directly reached out and pulled Ningrongrong's jade hand, pulling her towards the small podium on the podium. At this moment, Ningrongrong was still immersed in her own thoughts, and did not refuse Wu Tong's pull. She followed Wu Tong step by step and walked forward. The lecture hall was very large, but that only referred to the internal area of the entire hall. The distance between the hall and the podium was not that big at all, and it was only a few dozen meters at most. So soon, Wu Tong pulled Ningrongrong and walked onto the podium. After walking onto the podium, Wu Tong did not stop, but went straight to the back of the small podium. After arriving here, Wu Tong just stood still, looking at the small podium in front of him and the seats not far away. Wu Tong suddenly had the illusion that he had become a teacher. Shaking his head and throwing away the complicated thoughts in his mind, Wu Tong let go of Ningrongrong's hand and took out a soul guide that looked like a USB flash drive from the storage space. Without any hesitation, as if he had practiced it countless times, he inserted it into a groove on the podium with ease. This soul guide device, which looks like a USB flash drive, was designed by Wu Tong for himself a few years ago. It has a simpler function, which is to store information. A few years ago, Wu Tong's external plugin with extraordinary comprehension was not yet perfected, and he had not yet absorbed the database soul skill that could store data. So at that time, it was extremely inconvenient to organize and summarize the numerous information. Therefore, in order to facilitate the organization of a large amount of information and experimental research records, Wu Tong developed this Douluo version of the USB flash drive based on the operating principle of the previous life USB flash drive to organize data. Although the function is simple, it also liberated Wu Tong's brain during that period of time and facilitated Wu Tong's research. It once became the most popular soul guide device for Wu Tong. However, after having more advanced technology, this little thing was eliminated. As for why Wu Tong took it out again today, in addition to nostalgia, there is another reason. Those who will come later don't have student cards and have not bound to the soul network system. So it is impossible to directly transmit things to them through the soul network. Therefore, Wu Tong can only use this clumsy method in the form of PPT. Of course, Wu Tong can also wait for those people to be summoned, and then distribute the soul network system and student cards on the spot. Then use the student card in the soul network system to transmit, but Wu Tong thought about it and finally did not adopt this method. After all, today's meeting is not just a tea party to invite people to come and talk. Since the external threat of the God realm has been resolved, the next thing to solve is naturally the internal troubles. In other words, this meeting later, but it will still have to be cleaned up. If the soul network system is distributed in advance, it will have to be collected again after the sweep, which is a bit too troublesome. So Wu Tong weighed the pros and cons and gave up the idea of distributing it in advance. Of course, things like the soul network system will eventually be distributed. After all, Wu Tong's original purpose of making it was to facilitate the management and communication of the Douluo realm. However, because he had not yet solved the God realm and controlled the Douluo realm, he temporarily postponed the popularization of the soul network system and only used it in the academy and chat group. But now, Wu Tong has already destroyed the God realm, become the master of the Douluo world, and completely controlled the Douluo world. Then naturally there is no need to continue to restrict the circulation of the soul network system. Therefore, Wu Tong plans to distribute the subsystems of the soul network system to everyone in the entire Douluo realm after the big cleanup operation and the meeting are over. Then he will completely announce to the whole world that the Douluo realm is about to enter a new era, the age of the heavens. This is a major news that will cause an uproar in the Douluo realm. Of course, this is all later, let's not talk about it for now. As Wu Tong inserted the USB drive into the podium, a picture gradually emerged on the white jade backboard behind him. The picture is simple and clear, and it clearly reads Douluo realm, future development outline. People can see at a glance the purpose of Wu Tong holding this meeting. Author, Lecture Hall, PPT, Development Outline. I am doing planning in the fantasy world. You are quite good at it. Wu Tong, thank you. It must be different to be the protagonist. After doing all this, Wu Tong glanced at Ning Rongrong, who was still in a trance beside him, patted her head helplessly, and said, Rongrong, get ready, I will pull someone in soon. Oh, okay, brother Wu Tong. Ning Rongrong, who was patted on the head by Wu Tong and came back to her senses from the trance, was still a little confused. After hearing Wu Tong's words, she immediately perked up and hurriedly began to tidy up her clothes. After a while, seeing Ning Rongrong finish tidying up, Wu Tong didn't plan to continue to dawdle. After all, it was getting late now. If he dragged it on, he would not be able to catch up with a double row with Patuo. Thinking of this, Wu Tong's mind moved, and the authority of the Lord of the World was instantly mobilized. In an instant, the real-time location of all creatures in the entire Douluo realm, regardless of strength, appeared in Wu Tong's mind. Controlling the real-time location of creatures in the world was not difficult for Wu Tong, because the master of a world was the absolute controller of that world. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 520, Invitations begin. Small Gadrel meeting preparations underway. What is an absolute controller? In short, it can be understood literally, the absolute master of the world. This means that as long as Wu Tong is willing, all the movements in the Douluo realm will not escape Wu Tong's palm. Fortunately, Wu Tong has a good character and is not the kind of person with a strong desire for control. He has no interest in peeping at the movements in the Douluo realm. Otherwise, in his eyes, the affairs of the entire Douluo realm would have no privacy at all. After the real-time locations of all living beings appeared in his mind, Wu Tong smiled with satisfaction. Then the authority of the world, precise survey. With a flash of light in Wu Tong's eyes, the authority of the world began to operate directly with Wu Tong's thoughts. Countless information was sorted out and began to be screened. In a short while, the real-time locations of all the titled Douluo in the Douluo realm, including the Wuhan Hall, the Nine Treasures Glazed Sect, the Heaven Dao Empire, the Xingluo Empire, the Wind Sword Sect, the Elephant Armor Sect, the major colleges, the sea, the Xingda Great Forest, the Far North, the Sun and Moon Continent, and the lords of those forces were all selected by the World Authority one by one, and then all passed to Wu Tong. After getting the specific locations of these people, Wu Tong did not hesitate and directly stuffed these location coordinates to the Jianmu Road, letting the Jianmu Road start working. After receiving the information transmitted by Wu Tong, the Jianmu Road was also unambiguous and directly cast hundreds of golden lights towards the human world. The places where each golden light landed were the locations with specific coordinates that Wu Tong had just transmitted to it. 9 Treasures Glazed Sect in the 9 Treasures Hall. Early this morning, the group of people from the 9 Treasures Glazed Sect had been waiting for news from Wu Tong. They were all lying if they said they were not curious about what Wu Tong said about the Little God Realm and the Douluo Realm Lord. However, several people have been waiting until now, and there is no news from Wu Tong, which makes people a little annoyed. Gu Rong sat on a chair and said to Ning Fengzi, who was standing beside him with a somewhat irritable tone, Fengzi, you said today is the 3rd day, why hasn't Wu Tong told you where the Little God Realm is? You think that boy has forgotten it? The impatience in his tone must be heard by anyone. Uncle Gu, wait a little longer, since Wu Tong said it was today, he will definitely notify you. Ning Fengzi, after sensing Gu Rong's irritability, first comforted him, and then said with a wry smile, it's impossible to forget, but if it's later, it's quite normal. After all, you are not unaware of Wu Tong's character. Hearing this, Gu Rong, who was originally very angry, could not help but fall silent. After all, Mr. Wu Tong is a salted fish. Other people in the Douluo realm don't know, but those who are familiar with him, can they not know? Maybe Wu Tong might have tossed around a few times for survival reasons before, but since Wu Tong became a god and no longer had a sense of crisis, he directly liberated his nature and completely turned into a salted fish that was too lazy to move. Thinking of this, Gu Rong sighed helplessly. Alice, Fengzi Hi, you are right, let's wait and see, After saying that, Gurong remembered Chen Xin, whom he had not seen all morning, and couldn't help asking. By the way, Feng Zhi, why didn't you see Jianren today? Where did he go? Ning Fengzi heard this and answered casually, Uncle Jian. Oh, by the way, he went to the academy. He said that he was afraid that this meeting would take too long, so he planned to meet Rong and say goodbye to her. Bang! Ning Fengzi was interrupted by a loud noise before he finished speaking. Following the sound, Ning Fengzi looked over and saw that Gurong's hand had appeared on the table at some point. And where the palm touched the table, there were several cracks that spread out like spider webs. Obviously, the source of the sound is self-evident. Ning Fengzi, a table carved from a whole piece of golden fur with red leaves, which is a priceless treasure, but now it is directly ruined. Uncle Gu, you really don't know how expensive firewood and rice are. However, no matter how Ning Fengzi lamented helplessly in his heart, Gurong could not hear it. Now, after hearing Ning Fengzi's words, he only felt very annoyed. Little princess, why didn't I think of it? No, I have to say goodbye to the little princess too. With that, Gurong was ready to get up and go to Yuhu Canyon. However, as soon as he got up, a golden light suddenly appeared, covering Gurong's body in the golden light. Uncle Gu, seeing this sudden scene, Ning Fengzi immediately became very alert. He immediately took out a level 10 soul guide cannon bought from Wutuang Chamber of Commerce from the storage soul guide device, and looked around with a vigilant face. Gurong, who possessed the ability of space, sensed the spatial power contained in the golden light the moment it was covered by it. Thinking of the conversation between the two just now, Gurong immediately guessed that this golden light might be Wutong's way of pulling people. So Gurong shouted directly to Ning Fengzi, don't worry, this is, however, the speed of the golden light pulling people was obviously faster than Gurong's speaking speed, so before Gurong said a few words, he saw a flash of golden light on his body. Then, Gurong's figure was wrapped up in the golden light and disappeared. Ning Fengzi, who was alert, saw this magical scene, and thought of the words Gurong said, and suddenly understood, there is no danger. In addition, this mysterious method seems to be done by the little guy Wutong. Could it be that this golden light is Wutong's way of pulling people? But why is there no mine? Didn't you send me a voice message a few days ago? Just when Ning Fengzi was thinking, a golden light appeared instantly and enveloped Ning Fengzi. Then, Ning Fengzi disappeared in the Nine Treasures Hall. Wuhan City. In the worship hall. Second brother, why is there still no news about the invitation from Wutong? Didn't he say he would discuss things with us today? The baby-faced Guangling Douluo looked at the golden crocodile Douluo and asked. The golden crocodile Douluo shrugged, who knows? You know the character of that kid Wutong. Isn't it normal that he doesn't make any moves now? Not to mention now, even if he invites people again at night, I won't feel the slightest bit of surprise. Chapter 521 Jin Daoliu's helplessness. Well, that's true. Wutong, that lazy guy, probably hasn't even gotten up yet. But second brother, how come Zuir fell in love with such a lazy guy? Zuir is so outstanding. After hearing what golden crocodile Douluo said, Guangling Douluo remembered Wutong's lazy character, and his mouth twitched, and he couldn't help but complain. Upon hearing this, golden crocodile Douluo rolled his eyes at him unhappily. How should I know? Upon hearing this, Guangling Douluo was immediately surprised and said, second brother, you don't know? That's not right. Aren't you married? It's true that I'm married, but who can say for sure about emotional matters? Besides, who says that being married means he has experience in love? Golden crocodile Douluo was speechless, and then he explained, you and I are childhood sweethearts. We have a good relationship since we were young, and we have never experienced the kind of love process that Zuir has experienced. That's not right. Halfway through speaking, golden crocodile Douluo immediately stopped the topic. Because he clearly saw that when he was telling the story of the past, Guangling Douluo was staring at him, and the gossip in his eyes was almost overflowing. This kid seems to be getting more and more disrespectful recently. Seeing this, golden crocodile Douluo felt that there was no need for him to continue. So golden crocodile Douluo glared at Guangling Douluo, and then said, if you have nothing to do, get out of here and go play somewhere else, okay? Seeing that he couldn't listen to the gossip anymore, and golden crocodile Douluo had already started to drive people away, Guangling weighed the pros and cons in his mind and decided to leave. After all, if he stayed and didn't leave, he would definitely be beaten by this old guy. Guangling would not have any doubts about whether Golden Crocodile would beat him up. Because recently, he has been beaten up by Golden Crocodile and others. Of course, he would never admit that the reason he was beaten was because of his own cheapness. As he thought, Guangling flashed and rushed out of the worship hall. When the Golden Crocodile saw Guangling leaving the worship hall, he sighed helplessly. This kid has been getting more and more disrespectful recently. Now he dares to watch his own excitement. Sure enough, I knew before that he couldn't touch those soul guides. He was corrupted by those soul shadows, movies and TV series. After secretly criticizing Guangling Douluo in his heart, the Golden Crocodile was silent for a moment, and then turned his head to the other side. There was an old man sitting with his eyes closed, who was not surprised by everything. Seeing this old man, the Golden Crocodile thought for a moment, and then couldn't help but persuade again, "Brother, why don't you think about it again? Think more about Zuir. If you really, as for what Jin Daoli wanted to do later, ask Wu Tong to revive the angel god." The Golden Crocodile really felt that there was not much chance of success. However, although he advised, the Golden Crocodile did not have any confidence in his heart. Because he had advised many times in the past few days, if his advice was really useful, Jin Daoli would not be so indifferent to the world. And the result was not beyond his expectations. Before Jin Yu finished speaking, Jin Daoli spoke directly and declined his advice. "Okay, I have made up my mind. Don't persuade me. The angel god is the belief of our angel clan, and now her tragic death for no reason must have a result. As for Zuir, you and Bibi Dong will take care of her. Even if I am really gone, she can live well." When Jin Yu heard Jin Daoliu's words, he sneered. Bibi Dong Jin Daoliu asked them to take care of Zuir, and he didn't have any objection. After all, Zuir, this girl, was raised by them since she was a child, and she was almost like their granddaughter. But if he had to believe that Bibi Dong would take care of Zuir? In this regard, the Golden Crocodile could only use one word to express his emotions. Haha. In the Golden Crocodile's view, if you want Bibi Dong to have a mother-daughter relationship with Zuir, it is better to let him believe that wolves don't eat meat and dogs don't eat shit. How could Jin Daoli not know what the Golden Crocodile was thinking? But he could only remain silent. After all, what Bibi Dong did before was really not human. So it was reasonable for the Golden Crocodile and others to have some prejudice against Bibi Dong. Although Jin Daolu believed that Bibi Dong still had feelings for Jin Ringsu, what Bibi Dong did was also a fact that had already happened. Therefore, he didn't know how to excuse Bibi Dong. Therefore, not speaking is the best way to deal with it. Well, let time dilute it all. Jin Daoli sighed in his heart, and then fell silent, no longer speaking. When the Golden Crocodile saw that Jin Daoli was silent, he also snorted coldly, then closed his eyes and practiced cross-legged. Guangling, the contestant in the atmosphere group, fled the worship hall. Jin Yu and Jin Daoli stopped talking, so naturally the other worshippers stopped talking. As a result, the originally deserted worship hall suddenly fell into deathly silence. And just before this silent atmosphere lasted for a few seconds, a golden light suddenly appeared and instantly enveloped the cold-faced Jin Yu Douluo. Then, the figure of Jin Yu Douluo was wrapped up by the golden light and disappeared in the worship hall. When Jin Daoli saw this scene, he immediately understood it in his heart. His expression changed, and he smiled and said, "It seems that the invitation has arrived." Jin Daoli did not panic about the appearance of the golden light. After all, the power that could make him, a demigod-level strong man, unable to see the operating principle and the traces of the power, can only come from the power of the gods. As we all know, some time ago, the god realm had been destroyed by Wu Tong, and all the gods in the god realm were killed by Wu Tong. Therefore, according to Jin Daoliu's understanding, the only remaining god in the world now seems to be the last one, who is also the strongest Douluo realm master Wu Tong. Now this sudden appearance of power that can only come from the gods, combined with the words that Wu Tong sent them a message a few days ago, that he would invite them today. Then the source of this golden light is naturally self-evident. This golden light undoubtedly came from Wu Tong's invitation to the meeting. After hearing Jin Daoliu's words, the originally tense and vigilant Douluo were stunned at first. Chapter 522 Countdown to Shrek's Destruction. Then everyone looked at each other, and in tacit agreement, they dispersed the attacks that were gathering in their hands. No matter what, they are old friends who have worked together for decades. They also know Jin Daoliu, the great priest, very well, and know that he is not a person who talks nonsense. Therefore, they are still willing to believe Jin Daoliu's speculation. Then, the priests who gave up resistance were enveloped by the golden light that appeared. Then, with a flash of golden light, all the priests of the spirit hall disappeared in the worship hall. Xingluo Empire. Xingluo Palace. The Xingluo Emperor and several titled Douluo priests of the Xingluo Empire, after being enveloped by the golden light, also guessed the source of the golden light. After all, these people are all powerful people who can cultivate to the level of titled Douluo. How could they be fools? Therefore, before leaving, Emperor Xingluo hurriedly told Davis, "Weiss, the Xingluo Empire will be handed over to you temporarily. I'll go." But before he finished speaking, he and everyone in the palace were swept away by the golden light and disappeared into the palace. Davis, who had been submissive and quietly listening to Emperor Xingluo's instructions, saw this scene, and a divine light flashed in his eyes, and he immediately straightened his spine. Finally gone. Davis looked at the place where Emperor Xingluo left, and remained silent for a long time. After a moment, Davis laughed, and his mouth corners rose, revealing a wanton and arrogant smile. Finally, that old guy, finally left. In the next period of time, Xingluo Empire is the one who has the final say. So first of all, it's time to clean up the hidden dangers left by himself. Thinking of a hidden danger that has not been cleared, Davis walked to the windowsill of the palace and looked into the distance. The deep eyes filled with murderous intent seemed to have crossed countless distances and saw a certain person who was living in the small village. After a while, Davis suddenly said to the air, "Someone come," swish. As soon as he finished speaking, the next second, in front of Davis, a dozen black-robed people appeared, kneeling on one knee with a respectful look. Commander Yun, Deputy General Su. Davis looked at the two black-robed men in the lead, pulled a weird smile at the corner of his mouth, and said coldly, "Next, I'll trouble you two to take them to Soto City. Remember my request, Shrek Academy. No one will be left alive." Hearing Davis' words, the leading Commander Yun and Deputy General Su looked at each other and immediately saw the excitement in each other's eyes. His Royal Highness has finally made up his mind to deal with Daimyo Bei. Great, in this way, His Royal Highness's throne will be as stable as Mount Tai. In the future, there will only be one heir to the Xingluo Empire, and that is His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Thinking of this, the two suppressed their excitement and nodded, "Yes, X2. I am willing to die for His Highness, XN." As soon as the two finished speaking, the kneeling black-clothed men behind them also promised together. "Yes," Davis nodded, and then as if he remembered something, he quickly added, "By the way, Deputy General Su, remember to use your martial spirit to clean up the bodies of Shrek's group after you have dealt with them. Don't leave any limbs or soul fragments. Since he is going to die, let him die cleanly. I want him to be unable to be resurrected even with the resurrection coins." Upon hearing this, Deputy General Su nodded and said without any fluctuation in his tone, "Yes, Your Highness." Davis said calmly, "Well, then go." As Davis' words fell, more than a dozen black-clothed men instantly turned into more than a dozen black shadows and disappeared directly into the Xingluo Palace. "Mu Bai, my good brother. I hope you can have the same good luck this time." Laugh. After watching the black-clothed men disappear, Davis looked towards the direction of Soto City again and sneered. Davis almost never doubted whether these dozen people could carry out his orders and completely destroy Shrek Academy. Not to mention the dozen or so soul saints. Commander Yun and Deputy General Su, two soul masters who have always been in their own faction, are not something that the shittish Shrek Academy can deal with. Moreover, for this attack, Davis spent most of his wealth to buy 4 level 8 Soul Guide firearms and 2 level 9 Soul Guide cannons from the Wutuang Chamber of Commerce. This kind of terrifying firepower, even if used to deal with a titled Douluo, that titled Douluo would probably die on the spot. If they still can't solve a small Shrek Academy with only 3 Soul Saints, then these people can just commit suicide. Divide into 2 ends, the other side. Xianyao Empire. Bara Kingdom. Soto City Shrek Academy. Under the double blow of the news from Xingluo Empire, Davis ascended to the throne of the Crown Prince, and the struggle for the throne of this generation was completely ended, and Zhu Zhuking's divorce, Daimyo Bei, who had completely fallen into a state of slacking off, living a life of drunkenness and debauchery all day long, suddenly sneezed at this moment. Huh? As if he felt something, Daimyo Bei rubbed his itchy nose, looked around with some confusion, and then murmured in a low voice, "What's going on? Why do I suddenly have a bad premonition? Just now, a sudden inexplicable feeling suddenly emerged from his heart, causing Daimyubei's heart to tremble violently. However, Daimyubei is now completely in a state of slacking off, and has long been completely transformed into a waste who only knows how to spend his days in debauchery and do nothing. So even if he had a little premonition of crisis, Daimyubei still didn't take this feeling to heart, just thinking that he had an illusion. Forget it, it must be an illusion, never mind, let's go find Zyakusu and Zayoi to play later, Daimyubei muttered as he walked towards the direction of Soto City. Daimyubei, who was daydreaming, had no idea that from this moment on, his life had already fallen into countdown. Let's not talk about the things in the Xingluo Empire for now. Let's return to the meeting of the small god realm. The emperor and the worshipper of the Xingluo Empire were swept away by the golden light and disappeared. This scene was not uncommon in the Douluo Continent at this moment. This scene was not only seen within the scope of these three forces. Chapter 523 The Advantages and Disadvantages of Jianmu Road. And it also appeared in the territories of other forces, the Pope's Palace, Poseidon Island, Slaughter City, the core circle of the Star Forest, the far north, the Sunset Forest, Douluo Mansion, the Sun-Moon Continent, the Deep Ocean. In the entire Douluo Continent, except for the academy located in the Afterglow Canyon. Almost all the controllers of the forces on the Douluo Continent, as well as those titled Douluo Masters, were all swept away by the golden light and disappeared on the Douluo Continent. Small God Realm. 36 Heavens, First Heaven. The lecture hall version, inside the conference palace. At this moment, Wu Tong, with a calm face, was pulling the nervous Ning Rongrong, standing on the small podium, waiting calmly for the invitees to rush to the small God Realm. 5, 6, 7 or 8 seconds, it should be almost here, right? After Wu Tong withdrew his consciousness from the Jianmu Road, he looked at the empty conference room and couldn't help but count down in his heart, muttering to himself. In Wu Tong's estimation, with the speed of Jianmu Road, those people should be led here within 10 seconds. That's right, 10 seconds. From Douluo Realm to the small God Realm, those titled Douluo Masters may not be able to do it in their lifetime, but for Jianmu Road, it only takes 10 seconds. Does it sound a bit shocking? But in reality, this speed is not exaggerated at all. It can even be said that the speed of 10 seconds underestimates Jianmu Road. After all, as a thoroughfare that can connect the God Realm, the Douluo Realm and its affiliated worlds in the future, the power of Jianmu Road is by no means simple. As for why I say that? That's because when Wu Tong refined Jianmu Road, he added many technologies related to space, such as spatial authority, spatial power, time and space martial spirit, micro-wormhole transportation, domain anchor point, and the core of the ruler of the void, as well as treasures containing the power of space. The addition of these materials containing the power of space made the transmission ability of Jianmu Road even stronger than that of the Rainbow Bridge that Wu Tong borrowed from, and even far exceeded Wu Tong's expectations. It's just that the transmission ability is far superior, and the destructive power is about the same as the Rainbow Bridge. If it is continuously released, it can destroy a star, therefore, it is not difficult for Jianmu Road to guide hundreds of people within 10 seconds. On the contrary, it can be said to be a piece of cake. Even this estimated time of 10 seconds is based on the few seconds wasted by Wu Tong when transmitting information. If the time wasted by Wu Tong is not counted, the speed of Jianmu Road to pull people can even be controlled within an appalling 5 seconds. That's right, 5 seconds. In just 5 seconds, Jianmu Road can break the barriers between dimensions and connect the two worlds. At the same time, it can also guide people in another world to the small world of God. From this, it can be seen how terrifying the transmission speed of Jianmu Road is. Just as Wu Tong was proudly lamenting the powerful power of the artifact he had refined, Jianmu Road. Hundreds of cocoons composed of golden light suddenly appeared in the conference palace. If it was just one cocoon, the golden light that came out could naturally be called pleasing to the eye. But when these hundreds of cocoons emitting golden light gathered together, the golden light that burst out could be said to be extremely dazzling. In just a moment, the golden light replaced the original light in the conference palace, making the entire conference palace seem to be coated with a layer of gold foil, which looked extremely dazzling. Here it comes. Originally, when Wu Tong saw the golden light appear, his eyes condensed slightly, and he was still a little happy in his heart. But then, The dazzling light burst out by the hundreds of cocoons that suddenly appeared together made Wu Tong's smile just show on his face freeze directly on it. His grandma, is this light a bit too flashy? It seems that when refining the Jianmu road, the amount of image was added was a bit too much. Forget it, after the meeting is over, go and modify the transmission method of the Jianmu road. At least adjust the light, otherwise, it is easy to cause an accident. After all, this level of light has no effect on me, but for other people, it is just like a flash bomb. Wait, flash bomb. Others. Thinking of this, Wu Tong seemed to realize something and quickly turned his eyes to the side. Sure enough, when Wu Tong turned his head, he immediately saw Ning Rongrong, who was stimulated by the golden light, closing her eyes and crying. Puff. Looking at Ning Rongrong's little face with squinting eyes and tears, Wu Tong laughed unkindly. It's not his fault that he did this kind of behavior. It's really Ning Rongrong's facial expression that is really funny now, and people can't help but want to laugh. However, Wu Tong's reaction was pretty good. The second he realized that he had laughed, he quickly blocked Ning Rongrong's ears and did not let his laughter reach Ning Rongrong's ears. Fortunately, it seems that she didn't hear it. Seeing that Ning Rongrong did not ask about the laughter, Wu Tong knew that his sound blocking was successful. After celebrating, Wu Tong lifted the sound blocking beside Ning Rongrong's ears. Then, Wu Tong looked at Ning Rongrong, who was crying, and smiled. Rongrong, don't move, I will treat you. While Wu Tong was speaking, he condensed a healing spell in his hand. Ning Rongrong, who was crying, also resisted the urge to rub her eyes with her hands after hearing Wu Tong's words, and stood quietly in place, waiting for Wu Tong's treatment. Seeing this, Wu Tong directly brushed the milky white light condensed in his hand towards Ning Rongrong's eyes. As a white light flashed, Ning Rongrong suddenly felt a coolness coming from her stinging eyes, and it became less painful. After a while, when the pain completely disappeared, Ning Rongrong immediately opened her eyes, looked at Wu Tong and thanked him. Thank you, brother Wu Tong. Wu Tong rubbed her head and said with a smile, okay, silly girl, with our relationship, why thank you. While Wu Tong was treating Ning Rongrong, the golden light on the cocoon also slowly dissipated, revealing the figure wrapped in the golden light. Chapter 524, 3 Idiots Popping Up. Bibi Dong, Jin Dao Liu, King of Slaughter, Poseidon, Golden Crocodile Douluo, Light-Wing Douluo, Emperor Xingluo, Douluo, Emperor of the Sun and Moon Empire. These figures are all the top masters in the Douluo world, as well as the controllers of one force. However, these famous figures in the Douluo world all have frowned and closed their eyes at this moment. I think they were also dazzled by the golden light just now. However, for ordinary people, it may take some time to adjust and recover from the dazzling golden light. But for extraordinary people like soul masters who have extraordinary powers, it is much simpler. For soul masters, they only need to use soul power to nourish for a while, and the discomfort in their eyes can be easily eliminated. So, after a few seconds, under the nourishment of soul power, everyone healed their eyes. I finally feel better. Damn, what the hell is Wu Tong doing? That light almost blinded my eyes. Gurong rubbed his eyes to relieve the discomfort in his eyes, and complained in an unhappy tone. Although under normal circumstances, this level of light would not have any effect on him at all. However, this situation is obviously an abnormal situation. Who would have thought that he would be blinded by a golden light just when he came here for a meeting? So Gurong was caught off guard and unfortunately fell into the trap. Ning Fengzi, who was standing aside, heard Gurong's complaint and was about to speak. But before he could open his mouth, several voices rang out. That's right. What the hell is this? It's so dazzling that my eyes are almost blinded. And what kind of hell is this place? I seem to remember that I didn't agree to that invitation. Right, that's right. What is this? Forced buying and selling. Hey, where's the person in charge here? Come out and speak. Yes, where is that kid named Wu Tong? Come out and explain. As the saying goes, there are all kinds of birds in a big forest. Even on the internet what people are now enlightened, aren't there still those idiots who speak without thinking? So, don't be surprised by the appearance of such people. After all, we can't expect everyone to have a complete brain. As soon as these voices sounded, the atmosphere in the whole place suddenly became quiet. The air around them seemed to solidify. There was a sound when a pin dropped, and there was no sound at all. Everyone in the room was shocked beyond words by these sudden complaints. Damn it! Who is so brave? How dare you express your dissatisfaction in front of a god, Mr. Wu Tong? Gu Rong dared to complain because he had a special relationship with Mr. Wu Tong, but how dare these guys? For a moment, everyone who knew Wu Tong in the field turned their eyes to those people who were clearly looking for trouble. Seeing this, everyone narrowed their eyes. It was not because these three people were so powerful, but because these three people looked a little weird. Three people, two soul Douluo and one title Douluo, all looked arrogant, and their gestures showed an arrogant attitude. Moreover, no matter their behavior or clothes, they were incompatible with the customs of Douluo Continent. It looked like they were not from Douluo Continent. Who can be invited here, except for some idiots, is not an old fox. So after realizing this, a gleam of light flashed in everyone's eyes, and they looked at each other, and conveyed the message with their eyes. Not from Douluo Continent? Not sure, but judging from their attire and behavior, it shouldn't be, but we can't rule out that they are pretending, right? It's impossible to pretend. Clothes and accessories can be fabricated, but behavior habits cannot. Some of their subconscious behaviors are incompatible with ours. Are these three idiots from those hidden forces, or from the unknown inheritance land of gods? They are not from our hidden forces. Although we are hidden, we still know the situation on the mainland very well. Yes, we can still distinguish between finding fault and seeking death. We in the hidden forces know as much about Mr. Wu Tong's deeds as you mainlanders do. If you really want to die, you won't choose this way. That's right. What kind of idiot dares to provoke Mr. Wu Tong at the risk of the whole clan being destroyed? That's right. If there are such people in our hidden sect, I will be able to publicize them at the first time. They remember that I don't want to die yet. Hey, what do you mean? Don't look at me. Does it mean that if they are not from the hidden forces, they must be ours? Yes, they are definitely not from our god's inheritance land. We have the inheritance of gods, and we know the power of gods better than you do. How dare we provoke Mr. Wu Tong, who is comparable to gods? After communicating with each other for a while, everyone became more and more confused. Something is wrong. These three guys are neither from Douluo Continent, nor from the hidden forces in the god's inheritance land. So where did they come from? Okay, won't we know these things in a while? Let's watch the show first. That's right, let's watch the show first. Is Mr. Wu Tong going to take action himself? I'm really looking forward to it. I can actually see the power of gods. Wu Tong ignored the people who were chatting enthusiastically and put his hand down from Ning Rongrong's head. He looked at the three people who had just spoken with an expressionless face, and said in a cold voice, I am Wu Tong, what explanation do you want? The three people who were a little uneasy due to the sudden cold atmosphere, after hearing Wu Tong's voice, immediately threw away their uneasiness in their hearts and opened the barrage mode to Wu Tong. Boy, are you Wu Tong who sent us a message a few days ago? Explain it. How did you get us here? Yes, what method did you use? You'd better tell me one by one. If you dare to deceive me, the consequences are not something you can bear. The two old men shouted at Wu Tong without any courtesy. In their words, they did not take Wu Tong seriously at all. However, the other person had already noticed something wrong from the admiring eyes of the people around him. Chapter 525, Identity Revealed, Sun and Moon Continent Causes Controversy. So he spoke up, trying to stop the two old men from committing suicide. Brother Zhang, Brother Zhu, stop talking. I can only say that this person's intentions were good. But, he couldn't help but be unwilling to accept it. You have to know that the reason why brain-dead creatures are called brain-dead is because their thinking is different from that of ordinary people, and they simply can't listen to other people's advice. The second half of the sentence is the key point. Therefore, the two old men not only did not listen to this person's kind advice, but sneered nonchalantly. Brother Liu, he's just a little bastard. Why are you so nervous? Or are you afraid? No way. Brother Liu, why are you afraid of him? With our strength, what can this little bastard do to us? That's right, a little bastard of his age, no matter how talented he is, can't be too strong. After all, young age means less time for cultivation, and less time for cultivation means poor strength. Yes, this little guy is only in his teens at most. Even if he is a genius, how strong can he be? You are a title Douluo, why are you afraid of him? XN. Awesome. I admire you so much. Listening to the increasingly excessive words that kept coming out of the two old men's mouths, everyone couldn't help but give them a thumbs up. Regardless of how flawed the IQ of these three people is, at least this courage is enough to make everyone admire. Facts have proven that when people are speechless to the extreme, they will really laugh. Wu Tong is no exception. Listening to what these two people said, Wu Tong was so angry that he laughed on the spot. And Wu Tong's laughter immediately attracted everyone's attention. However, Wu Tong did not care about the gazes of these people, but just said something that had nothing to do with this matter. I originally thought that a world like Douluo realm with extraordinary powers should be considered very lucky. After all, possessing extraordinary powers means that people in this world can enrich themselves through practice, making themselves better, smarter, stronger, and more perfect. After saying this, Wu Tong changed the subject and looked at the three people in front of him, his tone full of disappointment and speechlessness. But now it seems that my idea was wrong. And it was totally wrong, because some people, no matter how they practice, no matter how they evolve, they can't make up for their IQ and change the fact that they have a brain disease. This sentence was not Wu Tong's angry words, he really couldn't understand it. You have to know that Douluo world is a world with extraordinary powers. Although the extraordinary system of soul masters has many flaws, it can indeed allow people to embark on the path of practice and enter the extraordinary system. Logically speaking, the stronger the soul master's cultivation, the higher their life essence should be, and the more perfect they should be. After all, every process of cultivation is to make the practitioner gradually evolve, become more perfect, and finally achieve a transcendental process. Therefore, in Wu Tong's mind, no matter what kind of cultivation system, the later the cultivation, the more perfect the evolution should be. But whether it was the brain-dead love brains he had met before, or the three brain-dead stupid guys in front of him, they all directly broke Wu Tong's inherent impression of extraordinary cultivation. Let him understand that some people, even if they embarked on the road of cultivation and became strong, can't change their original defects. Well, just like the three brain-dead mentally retarded people in front of him, even if they relied on cultivation to become soul Douluo and title Douluo strongmen, they still did not change the fact that they had problems with their IQ and brains. After hearing Wu Tong's undisguised ridicule, the three old men were immediately angry and blew their beards and stared. There are problems with their brains, but this does not mean that there are problems with their ears. They could still understand what was good and what was bad. Moreover, the sarcasm and contempt in Wu Tong's tone were almost undisguised. I believe that even an idiot could understand it, so how could the three of them not hear it? Therefore, after understanding Wu Tong's contempt, facing this naked sarcasm and belittlement, how could the three of them not be angry? Therefore, the anger in their hearts directly came to their heads and suppressed the rationality of their brains. The three old men immediately shouted at Wu Tong, "What are you talking about, you little bastard? How dare you talk to me like this? Do you know who I am? I am the leader of the Zuxuan sect, one of the top forces in the Sun and Moon continent. Dare to mess with me? Don't you want to live, you little bastard? Your name is Wu Tong, right? Just wait for me. If you offend me, there will be no place for you in the entire Sun and Moon continent. Humph, if you kneel down and apologize to us now, and then hand over your voice transmission and teleportation methods with both hands, we can still consider whether to forgive you. That's right, kneel down and be a dog for us, and we can forgive your offense just now, Sun and Moon continent." The onlookers soon found a certain keyword from the endless and unbearable dirty words of the three people. When everyone heard this word, a gleam flashed in their eyes. It was worth their patience to watch the monkey show for so long, and now they finally got an important piece of information. The identities of the three people finally surfaced. So everyone looked at each other again. 6. I didn't expect that these three idiots were actually from another continent. I didn't think about it. I was just fishing when I was free, and now I caught such a big fish. Yes, but I really didn't expect that there was another continent in our world. I thought there was only one continent in this world. Who said it wasn't? But the Sun and Moon continent? Oh, that's right, this can explain it. What do you mean by explanation? Only people who are in another continent and don't know Mr. Wu Tong at all dare to be so presumptuous in front of him. That's true. To be honest, I really couldn't believe that there are still such idiots alive in the world. There are such people as brain-dead people at any time, any place and any dynasty. What's so great about it? Chapter 526 The strong are respected and cannot be humiliated. That's right, there's no need to care about this kind of people, they won't live long anyway. That makes sense, but after hearing what you said, I'm suddenly a little curious about how these three guys who are looking for death will die. It's just a boring farce. By the way, What do you think about the Sun and Moon continent? XN. After receiving this message, everyone fell silent. If they say they have no ideas about the Sun and Moon continent, a new continent that suddenly appeared, then it must be a lie. After all, this is a big cake that could make them die. However, although everyone has ideas, they dare not say it out. Because Wu Tong discovered this cake first, if Wu Tong doesn't speak, how dare they speak out? How about, after the meeting is over, let's go to Mr. Wu Tong to find out. After a while, someone tentatively proposed a suggestion. Agree. Agree. Okay. No opinion. After thinking about this person's suggestion for a while, everyone nodded in agreement. After all, that's a whole continent. They don't want to give up on such a big piece of cake without even trying it. So even if there are risks, everyone plans to give it a try. If Wu Tong disagrees, then forget it, they don't have much loss, at most they will just be disappointed for a while. But if Wu Tong agrees, then they have to divide this huge piece of cake well. As for what, invading another continent without reason, provoking disputes, etc., will it cause dissatisfaction and resistance from the people of Douluo Continent? With Wu Tong's momentum and prestige in Douluo Continent, he will be insulted by the people of Sun and Moon Continent, which will inevitably arouse public anger. At that time, what about provoking disputes without reason? This is clearly to correct the chaos and set a good example. Everyone, hey, those dogs from the Sun Moon Continent dared to insult our great sage, Mr. Wu Tong. People, do you agree? People, no. People, that's right, we will never agree. Let's stand together and kill those guys from the Sun Moon Continent. At this moment, Wu Tong didn't care about the exchange of eyes. All his attention was focused on the three guys in front of him who were still chattering and talking nonsense. Suddenly, Wu Tong said in a cold tone, "Are you done?" Wu Tong's voice was as calm as water, seemingly without a ripple, but it contained a storm that could sweep the world. As soon as Wu Tong finished speaking, the people who were originally exchanging eyes immediately stopped all their little movements. The reason for stopping the exchange was not because they were afraid of Wu Tong. After all, Wu Tong has been famous for such a long time, and all major forces have made detailed profiles and analyses of his character. In other words, everyone knows Wu Tong's character and understands that he is not the kind of person who will transfer his anger to other people. Wu Tong has always been very tolerant of people who have not provoked him. Therefore, even if Wu Tong's expression is not right now, everyone is not afraid at all. Then let's talk again. Since everyone is not afraid of Wu Tong's words, why did others stop communicating as soon as Wu Tong spoke? There are actually two main reasons for this situation. One of the reasons is caused by the underlying laws of the fantasy world. As we all know, in the fantasy world, the strong can do whatever they want without restraint. And the weak can only crawl humbly and helplessly to survive. In this world where the strong prey on the weak, the fittest survive, and the law of the jungle prevails. In the dark, according to the rules of the jungle law, an unwritten rule tacitly agreed by everyone has evolved, which is also the most basic game rule in the fantasy world, that is, the strong are respected, the strong cannot be humiliated. In the fantasy world, anyone who is strong will be respected and sought after no matter where he is. This is a privilege that everyone has tacitly agreed to, and it belongs exclusively to the strong. Although the Douluo Continent is a fantasy sewer, in general, the social structure is almost the same as the social law of the jungle in the fantasy world. Therefore, it naturally inherits this unwritten rule of the game. As the most powerful existence in the Douluo world at this stage, Wu Tong naturally has the privilege that belongs exclusively to the strong. Therefore, following the most basic rules of the game, although everyone is not afraid of Wu Tong, they still respect Wu Tong, the strongest person in the Douluo world. Therefore, when Wu Tong spoke, everyone stopped their actions. As for another reason, it was because the scene that everyone expected, Wu Tong's personal action, was about to appear. The environment to witness Wu Tong, the world's strongest, must be a solemn and quiet environment. Because only in this way can you feel the powerful strength of the world's strongest more deeply. As for why everyone is so sure that Wu Tong will personally take action soon, it is because everyone has profiled Wu Tong's personality characteristics, and they know very well how angry Wu Tong is in this state now. If Wu Tong was furious, it meant that although Wu Tong was very angry, there was still a possibility of reconciliation. But if Wu Tong showed a calm expression, it meant that the anger in Wu Tong's heart was like a volcano about to erupt, and it could not be suppressed. And now, Wu Tong's tone became so calm, and it was obvious that he had endured these three people to the limit and was on the verge of erupting. Therefore, Wu Tong would definitely take action personally against the culprit who made him so angry, there is no doubt about that. And just when the scene fell into silence, at this moment, the three people finally realized that something was wrong with the scene, and their chattering mouths gradually closed. Isn't this atmosphere a bit too quiet? Speaking of the guys in the royal family, and the old guys in other sects, why don't they talk with me? Aren't they crazier than me on weekdays? What's wrong with those strangers? Why are they looking at me with such weird eyes? There is also this kind of eyes, as if admiration? That's not right. We've never met before. So what are they admiring about me? Chapter 527 Wu Tong, Reconciliation? At this moment? Are you kidding? The more the three thought about it, the more they felt guilty. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that something was wrong with the scene at the moment. Finally, after thinking hard for a while, a sudden speculation that made them feel a little unbelievable suddenly flashed through the minds of the three people like a meteor. Hiss, I didn't hit the iron plate this time, did I? X3. After thinking about this, the three people suddenly felt that all the doubts in their hearts were answered in an instant, although in their opinion, this reason is indeed a bit nonsense. But if they really hit the iron plate, then all the current situations seem to be able to explain it clearly. Whether it is the sudden silence of the environment, or those weird eyes, or the group of old guys who suddenly fell silent, all the weirdness seems to be perfectly explained. Thinking of this, the three people looked at each other, and their hearts suddenly sank. The more they think about it, the more wrong it is. By the way, they didn't really hit the iron plate, did they? But how hard is the iron plate that can make so many strong men silent? It seems that we have finished talking. Wu Tong looked at the three people who had realized that something was wrong at this moment. His face was still calm, and there was no fluctuation in his heart. He did not think that he was a broad-minded person. For those who offended him, Wu Tong would not have any idea of holding back or forgiving. They realized that something was wrong. But so what? If they realized that it was wrong, could they erase what they said and did? In other words, if they did something wrong, could they pretend that they had not done it? Is this possible? It should be noted that the truth of a broken mirror is hard to mend, and spilled water is hard to collect can be passed down from ancient times to the present. Some things are done, and it is meaningless to suddenly have those regretful and annoyed emotions. Therefore, even if these three old guys have realized that something is wrong, Wu Tong's treatment of them will only result in one result. That is death. Borrowing a sentence from General Duanmu, as long as I am sure that you are an enemy, I will not let you go even if you beg me. Wu Tong waited for a while, looking at the three people who were silent and wanted to avoid a scene by silence. On his calm face, a smile that looked a little creepy and ferocious suddenly appeared. Since you have all finished speaking, it's my turn to wait. After hearing Wu Tong's words, one of the old men hurriedly interrupted Wu Tong. Oh? What? Any last words? Wu Tong, who was interrupted, looked at him with interest, but he didn't feel very angry in his heart. After all, in his eyes, the three old men now can be regarded as three dead people. And for this kind of people who are about to die, Wu Tong thinks he is still very tolerant. At least he will give them time to say their last words. After all, he is not a devil. Thinking of this, Wu Tong couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It seems that the recent leisurely life has a great impact on me. It makes my temper seem to have improved a little. Otherwise, if it was in the past, based on what these three guys said, they would probably be solved by me in one encounter, and there would be no chance for them to say their last words. Alice, I am so kind. Greek letter Omega. After his mind turned to this, Wu Tong suddenly felt relieved, and even the depression in his heart could not help but dissipate a little. However, Wu Tong's mood became better, but the mood of the three old men was not very wonderful. After all, they were all overlords in the Sun and Moon continent, and they had never suffered such a bird. So after hearing Wu Tong's unceremonious provocation and contempt, the three of them were so annoyed. However, no matter how annoyed and angry they felt in their hearts, they didn't dare to throw a tantrum at Wu Tong again. As for why? From the reactions of the people around him, they guessed that Wu Tong was an iron plate that could not be provoked, which was one of the reasons. Over the years, their pampered lives have caused their fighting power to be far lower than that of their opponents of the same level, so they feel that they are not Wu Tong's opponents, which is another reason. Therefore, Under the interweaving of the two reasons, the first thought that the three old men had when facing Wu Tong was not to resist, but to beg for mercy. That's right, begging for mercy. Therefore, when facing Wu Tong's bad words, although the three old men were furious, they still suppressed their anger, squeezed out a smirk, rubbed their hands and said, "That little friend. There may be some misunderstandings between us. Can we reconcile, Puff XN?" Hearing the words of the three old men, some people in the crowd with low sense of humor immediately seemed to be amused and couldn't help laughing out loud. It's not their fault for speaking out to break the atmosphere, but because the actions of these three old guys are too funny, after provoking a strong man like Mr. Wu Tong, apologize, say sorry, and then want to reconcile? And in such a solemn occasion? Where in the world can there be such a good thing? But it was this kind of thing that seemed to be incomprehensible in the eyes of everyone, and these three old guys actually brought it up without any psychological burden. Therefore, everyone couldn't help but sneer. Of course, while everyone was feeling happy, they couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, the brain-dead brain circuit is really something they can never understand. Reconciliation. At this moment, old guys, you three are probably joking, right? Wu Tong was also laughed at by these three shameless old guys when he heard this. Reconciliation? These three old guys actually have the nerve to bring it up? How dare they do that? Do they think that after spraying themselves, they can still get away with it without any stain? They don't look good, but they think it's beautiful? But how can there be such a good thing in this world? You know, I have never been a broad-minded person. So you want to leave after offending such a petty guy like me? Regarding the wishful thinking of these three people, Wu Tong only had one sentence in his heart. It's beautiful. We can exchange treasures for you. Soul guides, soul bones, and natural treasures can all be given to you as long as you let us go. Chapter 528, Deathly Struggle, Take Action. Seeing that Wu Tong had no intention of reconciliation, the three old men spoke up immediately. Then they rushed to list the sincerity they could pay, hoping to use these things to satisfy Wu Tong and reach a reconciliation situation. After all, the pampered life over the years has already smoothed their strong character and edges. Therefore, when facing difficulties and battles, the first solution they can think of is not to fight hard, but to exchange interests in order to achieve the purpose of preserving themselves. However, it must be said that although this behavior seems extremely shameful, after realizing that they have kicked the iron plate, the three old men's consciousness of seeking peace is still quite strong. The things they promised just now must be all they have, and these things are all priceless and precious treasures. It can be seen how much the three people want to live. However, what these three old guys don't know is that the precious treasures they are talking about are simply useless to Wu Tong now. After all, the things Wu Tong has in his hands are much better than the treasures they took out. Besides, don't waste time. After I kill you, those things will be mine too, Wu Tong said with disdain for the three old men's plan to buy their lives with money. Then, he broke their fantasy of seeking peace without any hesitation. That's right. If they die, won't the treasures they collected still be the spoils of the people in front of them? After hearing Wu Tong's undisguised words, the faint hope in the hearts of the three old men was directly shattered. It's over. Seeing this, Wu Tong had no mercy in his heart and sneered, nothing to say, right? Then it's my turn. After Wu Tong finished speaking, while the three were still in a state of unconsciousness, he waved his hand casually. Suddenly, several white jade-colored halos appeared out of thin air. In an instant, they were set on the limbs of the three old men, and their bodies were firmly imprisoned in place. The three people felt a sense of restraint on their bodies and came back to their senses. Then the expressions of the three people suddenly changed, because they felt Wu Tong's incredibly powerful aura on the light rings on their limbs. Although it was only a little bit of residual power, the terrifying power that was far beyond their cognition in terms of quality and status still made the three people feel terrified. However, these three old guys, let alone other things, at least their desire to survive was really tenacious, after feeling the imprisonment light rings on their limbs and the extremely terrifying power on the light rings. Although the three people were terrified, they did not give up resistance. Instead, they began to struggle desperately, trying to break the four light rings and get rid of Wu Tong's imprisonment. After all, they all knew that if they didn't struggle, they would die. Only by struggling hard, they had a chance to survive. In fact, there was no such possibility. However, no matter how they struggled, tried their best, and exhausted their courage, they could not shake the seemingly thin and fragile light rings on their limbs at all. They couldn't even move their limbs. At this moment, the three finally understood how much trouble their mouth full of shit had caused them. "My lord, please spare my life, I didn't mean it. I really didn't know that you would have such power. Yes, my lord. I am willing to submit to you and be driven by you forever and ever, without any second thoughts, as long as you are willing to let me go. This is clearly a trap. Your Majesty, Blood Moon Douluo, Brother Yuan, why are you all watching? That's right, everyone, this person must be preparing to catch us all in one fell swoop by doing this. Why don't we work together to escape from here?" Seeing that they could not break free from the restraints, the three quickly turned their spearheads to the other people on the side and began to talk nonsense, sowing discord, struggling for mercy, swearing poison, looking for help, begging for fuel. Many of the despicable moves that they once disdained and despised were now all used by these three people. Everything they did was to survive. But unfortunately, Wu Tong would never let them live. If such idiots were allowed to live, they would definitely cause trouble for him in the future. So in order to eliminate the trouble in the future, Wu Tong decided to take action directly and send them to the Western Paradise to visit the Buddha in advance for him. Okay, stop wasting your breath, you don't know you are wrong, you know you are going to die soon. That's why you are acting like this, you have lived long enough, and I'll let you live a few more minutes. You should know how to be satisfied. Wu Tong listened to the three people starting to talk again, rubbed his eyebrows with a headache, and then said impatiently. After that, Wu Tong no longer paid attention to the three people who were still talking, and a thought came to his mind. Then, following Wu Tong's thoughts, the white jade brilliance on the white jade halo that had just been put on the limbs of the three people began to spread directly on the three people. In a short while, the white jade halo that originally only imprisoned the limbs of the three people directly turned into three white jade armors that imprisoned the three people's bodies. The entire bodies of the three old men were directly wrapped in white jade armor. Except for their faces, all other parts were covered tightly, without a single gap. Even their mouths were filled with a jade ball gag. They completely lost the ability to speak. Finally shut up. After doing it together, Wu Tong breathed a sigh of relief. It's not that he was bragging, these three old men can really talk. In just a few minutes, these three old men said at least hundreds of words, which really gave Wu Tong a headache. But now it's good, the bodies and mouths of the three people were completely imprisoned, and they lost the ability to move and speak. Let Wu Tong vent his anger. Afterwards, Wu Tong looked at the three people who were imprisoned, and waved his hand to summon a virtual screen suspended in the air. The screen is not big, but it is not small either. At least everyone present can clearly see the details on the screen. After calling up the screen, Wu Tong looked at the three people with a smile. Next, it's time to settle the grudge between us. Don't worry, I won't let you die so quickly, at least. Chapter 529 Wu Tong, I am a kind-hearted person and I cannot bear to see the scene of separation. At the very least, I have to let you see with your own eyes that all the forces behind me have been destroyed, and then I will let you die completely. After saying that, Wu Tong seemed to remember something, and smiled at the three people and said, by the way, don't think about using soul power to self-destruct or anything like that, it's useless to tell you the truth. The white jade restraint armor on you has the function of suppressing energy, that is to say, under the restraint of the armor, you can't mobilize the energy in your body at all. As soon as these cruel words were spoken, the eyes of the three old men were instantly filled with endless fear and hatred. Obviously, they had guessed why Wu Tong wanted to imprison them instead of killing them immediately, in order to let them appreciate the scene of their entire family's tragic death and the destruction of their families, and then let them leave this world with regret and remorse. In order to achieve this goal, Wu Tong even imprisoned the energy in their bodies, so that they couldn't even ask for death on their own initiative. Demon, devil, outright demon. After figuring it out, the three of them immediately stared at Wu Tong's face with hateful eyes, as if they wanted to stare Wu Tong to death with that gaze. However, the three people who were cursing Wu Tong with resentment obviously forgot that the root cause of all this was the incident they provoked themselves. Wu Tong was the victim from beginning to end. But this is normal. After all, people often blame others for the mistakes that cause their own interests to be damaged. This is the bad root of human beings. And these three cunning old guys are naturally no exception. Don't look at me like that. Facing the gazes of the three people, Wu Tong sneered nonchalantly, and then said indifferently, You should know that all this was caused by you three. Since you have done it, you must be responsible for the consequences. If you want to hate, you should hate yourselves first, right? If you hadn't provoked me for no reason, with my gentle and non-confrontational personality, I wouldn't bother to pay attention to you. The corners of the onlookers' mouths twitched. Gentle and non-confrontational 6, but you should also be glad to have met me. I am a kind person and I can't bear to see you and your relatives separated by yin and yang, so I'm kind enough to send your whole family to reunite down below. Remember, when you see your relatives down below, remember to tell them who hurt them. After that, Wu Tong didn't care about the three people who had fallen into despair and the people with strange faces on the side. He stretched out his finger in front of the screen and pointed in the air. Then, in the surprised eyes of the crowd, a map of a continent that was completely different from the Douluo Continent suddenly appeared on the screen. Seeing this completely different map, everyone's eyes lit up, and then they quickly turned on the shorthand mode, and at the same time, they exchanged glances again. Hiss, is this the Sun and Moon continent? This continent is indeed worthy of being called a continent. It seems to be not much smaller than the Douluo Continent, right? Indeed, Mr. Wu Tong is really a sage. While we were still fighting on the Douluo Continent, he had already taken a step ahead and found a new continent. He, of course, you know, for so many years. There has only been one sage like Mr. Wu Tong in the entire Douluo Continent. His wisdom is definitely beyond our imagination. Well, I just don't know whether the fighting power of those strong men on the Sun and Moon continent is strong or weak. That's right, if they are too strong, then it will be a bit difficult to fight. Who cares, even if they are strong, what can they do? Can they resist the 9th and 10th level soul guides? As long as they can't resist, then everything is meaningless, they can only let us slaughter them. After all, the equality of all beings device is not a joke to you. Haha, that's true, but I guess they should not have the strength to compete with us. After all, after the changes and developments in the past few years, our current strength is no longer the same as before. That makes sense. You know, I can easily beat 10 of my past selves now. If you think about it this way, it's not wrong. We have the guidance of Mr. Wu Tong, and our strength has already undergone a complete transformation. Even if the group of people in the Sun and Moon continent are strong, it is estimated that they can't defeat us. While everyone was secretly recording the map and exchanging glances, Wu Tong was not idle. After calling out a map, Wu Tong directly searched for the forces behind the three people on the power distribution map of the Sun and Moon continent. Zuxun sect, Ghost Shadow sect, Sun and Moon Empire, one of the kingdoms, Kelta Kingdom, Liu family, found it. Wu Tong was muttering about the forces behind the three people while scratching on the map. Although the area of the Sun and Moon continent is very large, comparable to that of the Douluo continent, if you want to find a place, it is just like looking for a needle in a haystack. But that is for ordinary people. Who is Wu Tong? He is the lord of the Douluo realm. If you want to find a few places, isn't it a simple matter? Once the authority of the lord of the Douluo realm was opened, the causal lines that were originally indifferent to him on the three people immediately pointed out the location he wanted to find for Wu Tong, just like a dog who had met a goddess, and eagerly pointed out the location coordinates of the three forces. Wu Tong looked at the distribution of the three forces on the Sun and Moon continent, and after a moment of silence, he stretched out his hand and clicked 3 times on the screen. Then, the locations of the three forces were directly marked on the map by Wu Tong. 3 flashing red dots of light were particularly conspicuous and eye-catching in the gray-white map. Even a person with more than 1000 degrees of myopia can clearly analyze where these 3 locations are located on the Sun-Moon continent without wearing glasses. After seeing the 3 red dots on the map, which made him feel very familiar with the geographical location, the 3 people tied up not far away suddenly felt a dead silence in their hearts, and regret and despair intertwined, reflecting their helplessness and pain at the moment. The 3 people originally thought that as long as they did not cooperate with Wu Tong, then with the vastness of the Sun-Moon continent, Wu Tong would need several days to find the forces behind them. Chapter 530, The cause and effect disappear when a person dies. Take-Su Sword God fires 3 shots in a row. With this buffer time, some of the people in the sect family might be able to escape and keep a little fire. But they never expected that Wu Tong would ignore them. He directly asked for the coordinates of the location of the forces behind them, which was more essential, the cause and effect line. The development of this situation directly made the little calculations in the hearts of the three people disappear in an instant. There was only endless despair and regret in their hearts. Okay, now that the location has been found, then next, it's time to start the cause and effect between us. Wu Tong looked at the three coordinates flashing with red dots, and then looked at the three old men who were in despair not far away, and a smile suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. What a coincidence. He just happened to have a way to end the cause and effect. And it's the best one. The cause and effect will disappear when a person dies. As long as all the people from these three forces die, then the cause and effect formed by these three old guys will naturally come to an end. As Wu Tong thought, he looked at the three old men not far away and said with a sneer, "Old guys, you must watch what happens next and don't blink. Otherwise, I might have to reverse time and space and do it again." After that, Wu Tong stretched out his hand and a virtual screen floating in the air directly split into three identical screens. Each screen showed three different locations flashing red. The leftmost one was the coordinates of the Zuxun sect, the middle one was the coordinates of the Gyingbei sect, and the rightmost one was the coordinates of the Liu family. The three coordinates appeared on different virtual screens, as if they wanted to show something to everyone. When everyone looked at the three screens, the three virtual screens seemed to feel the gaze of everyone. The patterns on the screen began to change directly. Move, pull in, enlarge, and spread. As the screen gradually enlarged the positions of the three coordinates. Soon, three buildings with different styles but all magnificent and rich appeared in everyone's eyes. Zuxun sect, Ghost Shadow sect, Liu family, one of the four major families in the kingdom of Kelta. On the side, several shocked voices suddenly rang out from the crowd watching the screen. Obviously, these were the voices of the people in the Sun and Moon Empire shouting out in shock. They probably didn't expect that Wu Tong actually had this ability. So when they saw this scene, they were so shocked. However, Wu Tong and the Douluo people didn't care about the shock of this group of people. After all, they were just a group of ignorant country bumpkins. If you can understand them, you should be considerate of them. Besides, what is more important now is not to pay attention to the ignorant guys in the Sun and Moon continent, but to watch Wu Tong's move. After all, this is the power of the gods. If they can learn something from it, then they will surely benefit endlessly in the future. And Wu Tong didn't care about the crowd watching. No, rather than not caring, it's better to say that he wanted the crowd watching. Because only in this way can he show his strength to those who don't know his strength and kill the chicken to scare the monkey. To prevent some troublemaking guys from coming out to cause trouble for him during the meeting. Wu Tong's mind was full of thoughts. But his hands did not stop at all. Take Su Sword God X3. With a raised hand, Wu Tong easily constructed three energy giant swords thousands of meters long in the sky, tens of thousands of meters above the heads of the three forces. The three giant swords slowly condensed from the three energy vortexes and poked their heads towards the three forces below, as if the gods wanted to punish and cleanse the world. And the sort of divine punishment that was like the wrath of the gods was exactly what Wu Tong had not used for a long time. It was the martial arts of the Great Void Sword Key, the charm, and the Great Void Sword God that he learned from the Qian Immortal. Fu Hua once relied on this sword to cut off the connection between the second Herrscher and the God of Collapse. Wu Tong once used this sword to destroy the entire Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex sect with one blow. Now, Wu Tong used this trick again, also to destroy the sect Alice. History is indeed surprisingly similar. Thinking of the scene when he used the Taixia sword god last time, Wu Tong sighed inexplicably. Then, Wu Tong's eyes changed, and then he took action directly. God is the extreme of change. There is a sword without a sword. With the help of the God, the sword energy is self-made, which is the essence of the God. God is the extreme of change, the wonderful words of all things, and it cannot be questioned. This sword has no form and does not need a form. This sword fills the space, and this sword is the space. Therefore, it is everywhere and has no disadvantages. This sword is irresistible. Therefore, when this sword falls, the result of everything has been settled. Wu Tong does not think that these three sects that are not even first-class forces can have the ability to resist the Taixia sword god. Moreover, Wu Tong does not think that the people under the three old things will be some honest and incorruptible people who are willing to sacrifice themselves to protect the sect. And the result of the fact is indeed as Wu Tong expected. When the giant sword that looked like a punishment from heaven was about to fall, the people from the three sects started a riot, and began to flee and plunder wantonly. Seeing this, the people in the small divine world were speechless. The sect has trained them for such a long time. When the sect was in danger, they didn't help, but they actually destroyed and plundered the sect. Ningrongrong looked at what was happening on the screen and said unkindly, "It's better for such sect disciples to die, so that they won't harm others in the future." Wu Tong sneered and didn't comment on Ningrongrong's statement. Birds of a feather flock together. Do you expect those three old guys with corrupt morals to teach any outstanding disciples? But if you don't speak, I guess I would have forgotten it. Wrong. Close your eyes. The next scene is not something you, a child, should watch. Ningrongrong, I shouldn't have said that. In the face of Ningrongrong's resentful eyes, Wu Tong smiled and put a hand in front of her eyes to block her sight. Just as Wu Tong covered Ningrongrong's eyes, a deafening explosion sounded in the three images suspended in the air. Immediately afterwards, everyone gasped, as if they had seen something incredible. Chapter 531, The Cause and Effect Destiny Line, a powerful tool for finding people. Ningrongrong felt a little itchy when she heard it. But she also knew that since Wu Tong had said so, it was impossible for him to let her watch that scene again. Ningrongrong, brother Wu Tong, I know you are doing this for my own good, but have you forgotten that I am now a sole emperor, and as the heir of the sect, I have already experienced these things. Wu Tong, oh? You have done all these things, such as exterminating the whole family, crushing the bones and scattering ashes, and even killing the 9 clans? When did it happen? How come I don't know? Ningrongrong thought that Wu Tong just didn't want to see the dead scene, although, after this period of practice, Ningrongrong has mastered several means of fighting, and her combat effectiveness has been significantly improved. But if you want to rely on this little strength to resist Wu Tong's wishes, wouldn't it be like showing off your sword in front of Guangong and bringing shame upon yourself? Therefore, although Ningrongrong really wanted to know what happened in the picture, in the end, she could only give up this idea helplessly. After a while, when everything was calm, Wu Tong slowly put down the hand that was blocking Ningrongrong's eyes, allowing her to recover her sight. As soon as her eyes were free, Ningrongrong cast her eyes on the virtual screen suspended in the air. She wanted to see if there were any traces left in the picture for her to observe. But to her disappointment, when she looked at the picture on the virtual screen, she found that the 3 pictures of wealth and luxury were only a sea of hot magma. The 3 towering and magnificent buildings turned into ashes in the flames and disappeared completely. As for the people in the building? Oh, even the building engraved with soul guide runes and constructed with the strongest white jade soul stone could not withstand the attack that was like the wrath of the gods, Takesu sword god. Then how could those low-level soul masters whose physical strength was far inferior to that of soul guides be able to resist it? So those people naturally followed the 3 major forces and entered the end together. As expected, I shouldn't have had any hope. Ningrongrong looked at the 3 pictures with nothing but a steaming and boiling magma sea, and her expectations just dissipated. Although she had expected it, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed when she saw this scene with her own eyes. But at this time, Wu Tong no longer cared about Ningrongrong's thoughts. After letting go of Ningrongrong's sight, Wu Tong turned his eyes to the 3 old men not far away without hesitation. At this time, the 3 old men who were restrained by the white jade armor, unable to move, and couldn't even blink their eyes. After witnessing the destruction of their family and sect, there was no light in their eyes. At this moment, their eyes no longer had the glory and pride of the past, only endless regret, fear and despair. They looked extremely pitiful. Obviously, they had realized how stupid it was for them to provoke Wu Tong just now. However, after seeing the 3 old guys' pitiful regretful look at this moment, Wu Tong's heart did not stir up the slightest ripple. As the saying goes, there must be something hateful about pitiful people. Is it talking about these old guys? But they are not worthy of sympathy. After all, when these 3 old guys were looking for trouble with Wu Tong, they should have the awareness of taking the risk of looking for trouble and failure, and kicking on the iron plate. Now they have ended up like this, it can only be said that they deserve it. Don't blame others. At this moment, the reason why Wu Tong looked at these 3 people was not that he wanted to solve them now. After all, before everything is settled, Wu Tong does not intend to let them find relief so easily. When someone sees this, they should ask, what about Wu Tong has solved the 3 major forces, but still saying that the dust has not settled yet? Isn't this nonsense? There are so many people in a force, how could there be such a coincidence that all the direct descendants of the entire family and the entire sect appear in the sect at this time? Aren't all of them abandoned people who never leave their houses? So Wu Tong didn't even need to think about it. He knew that among these three forces, there must be some members who were wandering outside. After knowing this news, the next thing to do is to cut the grass and root it out. After all, Wu Tong is not a person who likes to leave hidden dangers for himself. When dealing with enemies, it is the best solution to cut the grass and root it out directly, send the whole family away, and kill an arson. So, since it has been determined to completely cut the grass and root it out, then for these fugitives, Wu Tong naturally does not intend to let any of them go. Thinking of this, Wu Tong looked at the confused figures of the three people, without saying a word, raised his hand and made a move, the power of cause and effect connection. The power of destiny, return to the source. The power of the soul network. The power of the world perception. As the power of the four powers was used by Wu Tong one by one. The next moment, everyone present saw that countless blank and transparent lines gradually emerged on the bodies of the three people. As soon as these blank and transparent lines appeared, they seemed to be summoned by something and quickly drilled into the void, heading towards an unknown place. After a moment, as if they were connected to something, a part of the lines suddenly stretched straight, and at the same time, the color of the lines gradually changed into the colorful colors of gambling. Finished? Pretty fast. After a few minutes, Wu Tong finally smiled when he saw that the lines on the three people finally stopped changing colors. These lines are not something else, but the causal fate line that is closely related to the causal fate of the three people. Wu Tong used the authority of the Lord of the World to transform this causal fate line that is closely connected to the causal fate of the three people into a weapon to help him find the enemy. The power of cause and effect and fate can hardly be tampered with by anyone in the Douluo realm, so anyone found by these lines is closely related to these three old men. And the color of those lines represents the relationship between those found people and these three old things. For example, the black line symbolizes enemies, the red line symbolizes relatives, the blue line symbolizes friends, the pink line symbolizes lovers, the cyan line symbolizes mentors and apprentices, and the white line symbolizes acquaintances. Chapter 532, Erasure of Cause and Effect, Blow of Fate, and Horrifying Coincidence. Under the influence of the power of cause and effect and the power of fate, no one can escape the link established by the causal fate line. Therefore, almost all interpersonal relationships closely related to these three people are distinguished one by these lines and presented in front of Wu Tong. Looking at these densely packed lines, Wu Tong first waved his hand, and those lines that represented that the people were dead and the links were broken and still maintained a blank and transparent color disappeared directly on the three people. Once these lines disappeared, the lines that originally looked as numerous as stars immediately became much emptier. What remained were only those lines that looked dense and colorful. Although it still looked like a lot to count these colorful lines, for Wu Tong, who possessed the wisdom Godhead, it was just a matter of thought. Therefore, with just a divine thought passing by, these densely packed lines of various colors were all presented in Wu Tong's mind. Black 1,297,690 roots. White 15,767,949. Red 901,001. After figuring out the number of lines, Wu Tong began to select these lines. After all, there are many people connected to these three old guys, but not all of them need to be wiped out. After all, Wu Tong is not a murderer. The reason why he took action against these three old guys was because they started the trouble and provoked him. Wu Tong is still very tolerant of those who have not provoked him. Therefore, those black lines that symbolize enemies, light white lines that symbolize acquaintances, but not very familiar, blue and white lines that represent superficial friends. The people connected by these lines, in Wu Tong's estimation, are all people who do not need to be killed. Then, after clearing out all the lines representing those who do not need to be wiped out, looking at the remaining lines, Wu Tong's mouth corners suddenly pulled out a wicked smile. Finally, all of them have been picked out. Then, come and welcome your death. Wu Tong looked at those colorful lines and did not hesitate to activate the power of the authority of fate. He raised his hand to make a knife and slashed it. Fate is like a knife. Heaven slash. The next moment, a light that seemed to be there and not there seemed ordinary, but a closer look made people feel extremely mysterious. Just like the fate that has always been high above and unpredictable, the mysterious and magnificent knife light quietly emerged in Wu Tong's hand. Then, without any mercy, It was slashed by Wu Tong and fell on those colorful lines. Bang 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 as the knife light fell, those taut colored lines were cut straight by the knife light without any hindrance at all, making a crisp and pleasant breaking sound. In a moment, all the lines were cut by this knife light. After seeing all the lines broken in half with my own eyes, Wu Tong then turned his gaze to the virtual screen that was still in midair and had not yet dissipated. To be honest, this was also the first time he had cut off someone else's fate. Although Wu Tong knew that those people would definitely die after this move, Wu Tong did not know how they would die. Therefore, Wu Tong also wanted to see how those people would die after their fate was cut off. After seeing Wu Tong cast his gaze on the virtual screen, the other people present also cast their gazes on the virtual screen in midair. To be honest, they did not understand what Wu Tong did just now. Lines suddenly appeared on the bodies of the three people. Wu Tong selected those lines, and Wu Tong swung his sword to cut the lines. However, since it was done by Mr. Wu Tong, it must not be in vain. Therefore, driven by the curiosity in their hearts, everyone followed Wu Tong and cast their gazes on the virtual screen. They also wanted to see what Wu Tong wanted to do. Wu Tong ignored everyone's small movements. After looking at the virtual screen, his mind moved slightly, and the picture on the virtual screen suddenly changed. In an instant, pictures containing figures appeared one after another. Those figures in it were all those who were closely connected with the fate of the three old guys. Originally, these people, under the protection of the three old guys, should have enjoyed an inexhaustible luxurious life of wealth and power. But at this moment, these people have completely ignored those material things. Because now, each of them is facing the world's targeting and hostility. Countless people are facing the test of life and death. For example, someone suddenly fell flat on the ground while walking, and there was just an iron nail where the body fell. Someone was lying on the bed sleeping, but a soul guide suddenly shot from somewhere. Someone was eating, but just choked on the food. Countless coincidences appeared quietly, turning into the sickle of the god of death, taking the lives of these people one by one, but not hurting anyone else. If it was just one example, it could still be replaced by coincidence. But these strange scenes suddenly shrouded this seemingly coincidental behavior with a strange and mysterious color. Let this coincidence become an inevitable result. Hence, after seeing this strange scene, there was a sound of inhalation from the crowd. All these people were shocked by this strange scene. But it's normal to think about it. After all, as long as you are not a fool, you can see how abnormal these seemingly normal coincidences are. Once or twice is a coincidence, but if there are thousands of coincidences, it is not a coincidence. According to the speculation of everyone present, these so-called coincidences should be related to Wu Tong's action of slashing the colorful thread with a knife just now. After realizing this, whether it is the people of the Sun and Moon continent or the people of the Douluo Continent, there is a little more fear in their eyes when they look at Wu Tong. If the takes of sword god that destroyed the world just now brought everyone a visual shock, then this invisible and unknown attack now brings everyone fear from the heart. As the saying goes, everyone is born with fear and fear of the unknown. Therefore, Wu Tong's attack directly aroused the fear of the unknown deep in their hearts. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.